Hey y'all, it's your Mad Lad Achieved Out here with the mega guide for Elden Ring. Get every achievement in one video. This is going to take a while, so just bear with me. This run through is going to be 99% just running through the game, getting every achievement in the most efficient way possible, in my opinion anyway. This is how I play through the game. This is how I'm going to guide you to play through the game. Use this as a guide if you're lost or if you just want to get through this game as quickly as possible. It took me 73 hours to beat it. It'd probably take you about 40 or 50 if you have a guide to go through it, so it'll make your life much easier. This is taking a lifetime to make, so if you like it, if you got any help out of it, if you have any comments, let me know. Like, subscribe, whatever you want to do, and let's get into this achievement guide. We're going to start off as a sorcerer. If you've seen my other Dark Souls videos, you know that I'm always a sorcerer, or in this game it's called the astrologer. Make your way through the prelude of the game and either get wrecked by the grafted or defeat it. And this is where the real game begins. Make your way outside to find your first NPC, which is actually a quest guy that you can go through the game with, but I didn't, so I won't even bother. You can have a chat with him, or you can just go straight to the Church of Ella, Site of Grace. Making it to the church, you're going to be introduced to the Wandering Merchant and the smithing system in the game. There are several Wandering Merchants throughout the game, and you can use them to buy and sell things, and each one has a slightly different inventory. Interact with the Anvil to be introduced to smithing. It is how you upgrade your weapons to be stronger, and you can upgrade a weapon all the way up to plus 25 if it's a normal weapon, or plus 10 if it's a special weapon, and that'll be an achievement tied to that later on as well. Make your way north across the field from the starting point, and you're going to come to the Gatefront Site of Grace, which is next to the Gatefront Ruins. Just to the east of the Site of Grace, you're going to find a stall, and it's going to have a map sitting underneath it. The maps are how you are able to see more of the world when you actually open up the real map. You can pick up a flail from the cart that is further away from the Site of Grace. It is a good bleed weapon for the beginning of the game if you didn't start as the guy that has a katana. Head into the gate, and you're going to come to a pathway that is full of enemies and a giant that is going to fall down and try and squash you. Make your way up the hill, and you're going to come to Storm Hill, and you're going to find your first golden seed. Golden seeds are used to upgrade your flask. I do believe they upgrade the strength of your flask. Continue up the pathway to be ambushed by a couple of wolves. Defeat them and continue up the hill to come to the Storm Hill Shack. The Storm Hill Shack is where I first encountered Melina, who is essentially the Emerald Herald of Elden Ring. She will hand over the Spectral Steed Whistle, and she will be your source of leveling up in this game. As soon as you get the Spectral Steed Whistle, you can teleport back to the Church of Ella. Make sure that you teleport and don't just go back, because it doesn't work that way. Once you teleport in, it should be nighttime. You can talk to the witch that is sitting on the wall, and she will give you, she'll ask you if you can ride the Spectral Steed. Say yes. And then she will give you the Spirit Calling Bell and your first Spirit Ash. Enter the shack that you're laying next to, and you'll find an NPC named Roderica. She's going to ask you to find something in a castle that we're going to go to soon, and she will also be your source of upgrading your Ashen remains later on in the game. Just northeast of where you find Roderica, you're going to find the War Master's shack, and inside that shack is going to be an NPC called the War Master. Makes sense. If you'd like to now, you can fight the War Master, and if you can manage to take him down, he is going to give you the Devourer Scepter, which will be number 1 of 9 of the legendary armaments. I didn't do it this way, so I won't count it now. It'll be found at the end of the collection instead of at the beginning instead. Back in Stormhill Shack, you're going to follow the road up the hill. If you follow the cobblestone path, it'll take you to the left, and you're going to end up going to the Castle Ward Tunnel Site of Grace. The Castle Ward Tunnel Site of Grace is going to be right outside of where we're going to fight our first major boss of the game. So if you can level up now, go ahead and level up. If you want to grind for a bit, do that. Get as high as you can before you fight him. I don't think I leveled up at all before I fought him, so this ended up being a little difficult for me to get through the first time. You can summon the NPC named Sorcerer Rajier just outside the boss arena, so go ahead and summon him and then make your way inside. The first boss we'll take on is named Margit the Fell Omen. He has around 6,600 health. He has 1.5 phases, and he is weak to slashing type attacks. He uses mostly melee attacks, and he can unleash a pretty long combo, which can take a lot of health from you in one go. He can throw daggers of light, which are meant to interrupt your use of magic and healing. And around 75% health, he's going to whip out this great hammer made of light, which will almost always one-shot you, so watch out for it. Take him down to get your first achievement, named Margaret the Fell Omen, and congratulations, you are officially on the board. Grab his Site of Grace in the boss arena, and then this is where I was invited to the Round Table Hold. Getting invited to the Round Table Hold will net you your second achievement, simply titled Round Table Hold. The Round Table Hold is the hub world of Elden Ring. It's essentially like Firelink Shrine from previous games. You can meet NPCs, you can buy things, spells, incantations, you can upgrade your weapons, your spirit ashes later on. That's pretty much what the hold is all about. One last thing, if you didn't get the Spirit Calling Bell from the Witch after you got the Spectral Steed Whistle, you can buy it now in the Twin Maiden Husks in the Round Table Hold. Back at Margaret's Site of Grace, head up the hill and you're going to come to the gate for Stormveil Castle and its Site of Grace. Go into the hole in the wall where you'll find an NPC that can open up the gate for you if you want to go that way, or you can continue through the wall out into the wild. Going outside is going to lead you to the Stormveil Cliffside Site of Grace, which will lead you into Stormveil Castle itself through a side path instead of the main gate. Past a few enemies on the way in, when you go up the stairs, make sure you watch out for the exploding barrels. The door ahead is going to be locked, so do a 180 and continue up the stairs behind you. You're going to come to a door that is unlocked that you can open, and inside is going to be an item against a far wall. When you walk in, there's going to be a little cutscene that plays, and you will be trapped in that room. The item that you can see from the outside of the room is going to be the key that you need for that locked door we passed earlier. Grab the key, and you can either exit the room, kill the guy, or get destroyed by the guy like I did. Whatever happens, go back to that locked door, unlock it, and climb the ladder to continue going through the castle. Continue through the castle the only way that you can. You will come to a room with a halberd enemy, and on the second floor of this room is going to be two doors. One is on the left. That is going to hold the Rampart Tower Site of Grace, which is your next stop. Go through the door in this room, and you will eventually come to an area where you are on the second floor, and when you look down below you, there is a grafted enemy hanging out down there. If you can take out the grafted enemy from up here, it's much easier than trying to fight it down in the pit, so go ahead and do that. When you go outside, you can look off the left side to see a pile of bodies and a couple dogs. Take them out now if you can. It'll make your life easier. Turn around and jump over the small wall that has a stack of bags in front of it. It's going to let you skip the Halberd Knight that is in the next room. Make your way through the Halberd Knight room and the room after it that has a couple of these little shackle guys. And you will come to the very large room that had the grafted enemy that was hanging out inside of it. If you go to the opposite end, you will find two doors, the left of which is the room where you killed those dogs earlier, if you did. If not, then you have to take them down now. But the body that is on the top of the stack is going to hold the Chrysalid's Memento, and that is what the Roderica NPC asked you to find, so grab that now. If you enter the other door that was at the end of the room, you're going to find the Tower Rampart Site of Grace at the top of this lift, so it's just a shortcut back. You're going to go back to the large room where the grafted was and enter the door that is on the opposite side of where you came in. If you have any stone sword keys in your inventory, you can make an immediate left when you go outside. You'll cross through a small room with rats. You will come to a imp that needs a stone sword key to open up the fog gate that it sits next to. This is probably the first fog door that you've come up to like this, so you'll use one stone sword key if it's one mouth lit up, or two if it's both mouths lit up. And then it's going to get rid of the fog door that it sits near. There are two chests in this room. The first one holds a prayer book, which you turn in to buy more incantations, and the second one holds a seal, which you use to cast those incantations. Head outside and you'll be on a upper platform that is overlooking several enemies on Ballistae, which are very easy kills, and they give you a good bit of runes for at this point in the game. Follow the road in the direction that you came out, and you're going to come to the gate, the Stormveil Gate Site of Grace, and a lever to open that gate. You can pull the lever if you want to open up a shortcut back to the outside of the castle, or if you chose to open the gate in the beginning, it will already be open. From here you can hop down, and your goal is going to be straight down the road, past all these ballista enemies and a couple more enemies on foot. You will see a small archway that has a staircase behind it. This staircase is a death funnel. There are going to be two enemies on ballista that shoot exploding bolts at you, so this is an extremely dangerous area to make it through. When you make it through the death funnel, you're going to be in another area that is full of enemies. Just hug the right wall and run all the way past the stairs in the back. Go to the left side and you will come to another Site of Grace called the Lift Side Chamber Site of Grace, and this is going to be your safe area. Take the lift that is attached to this room and you will come to an alternate path. There are going to be some living pot enemies to your left, like there's a little side area back there, and a teardrop scarab in the little crevice that is leading out of this area. Exit through the door, and across from you, you will see the last set of grace that we're going to get before we fight the big boss of the castle. So rest up, heal up, level up, whatever you need to do. Before we fight the boss, we're going to head back through the area where that giant is. And you're going to be hanging a left past the golden seed, and you will find a small room with an NPC named Nepheli inside. Have a chat with her and agree to fight with her, and then she'll be available to summon for this next boss fight. Make sure you summon Nepheli so she can help you out, and let's get to this boss fight. Godric the Grafted has about 9,500 health. There are 2 phases, and his weakness is all physical attacks, while his resistances is pretty much everything else. Phase 1 is mostly about melee. There are 2 versions of this attack where he uses his axe to surround himself with wind. In one version, he can jump up and slam down on you, and then another version, if you're far enough away, he will just throw wind using his axe, and you gotta dodge out of the way of those. He can charge you from pretty far away, and he can slam his axe down into the ground to create an earthquake effect first in front of him, and then around him with the second attack. He can use a pretty long combo of just normal melee attacks. He gets like 7 or 8 attacks in here against Nepheli, and if you just keep your distance, you should be able to avoid all these attacks pretty easily. And lastly, for phase 1, he has this attack where he has like a little effect where his axe goes, and this attack has a much longer range than his other attacks, so watch out for it. He always starts phase 2 with this attack right here, which is extremely punishable. All you gotta do is run up to him, and you can just get tons of hits in while he does this attack. He has a new grapple attack, which is extremely effective against the player. Every time it caught me, it killed me from full health to dead, every time. And lastly, for phase 2, his wind attack is going to be infused with fire now, so it's just going to do even more damage than it did before. Take him down to earn the achievement titled Shardbearer Godric, and you will also get Godric's Great Rune, which is going to lead us right into our next achievement pretty much right away. You're going to go to the main gate set of grace, and I'll leave this entire sequence in double time so that you can see exactly where to go and the path to take. But you're just going to run up the hill, and this time instead of continuing straight, you're going to head off to the right over where by a bladed dog is. And you're going to run straight down the path. You're going to come across a few giants. There are 3 on the bridge. First 2 are melee, and the last one is going to shoot a bow and arrow at you from a distance. At the end of this bridge is going to be a wayport that's going to take you to that tower in the distance. When you get there, you're just going to open up the door, head up the elevator, and at the very top is going to be the legs of a giant. It's just a dead giant that's stuck in the ground. And between its legs is going to be like the Elden Ring symbol, like a rune. You're going to interact with that rune. You will get Godric's Great Rune, and you will also get the achievement will pop as soon as you pick up the rune. So I'll meet you back there at the top to tell you one more thing. If you don't get Godric's Great Rune right now, there are plenty of opportunities to get these Great Runes, and you actually get one automatically when you beat one of the bosses later on. And I'll tell you that one when we get there as well. Now we're going to run back to the Roundtable Hold and do a few things while we're there. The NPC that we talked to in the Stormhill Shack named Roderica is going to be here. You can give her the Chrysalis Memento and she will give you a golden seed. And then you need to talk back and forth with her and the Smither Hugh to get her to be able to upgrade your Spirit Ashes. So talk back and forth with him for a while and she will eventually move across from Hugh. With everything done at the hold, we're now going to go to the Gatefront Set of Grace, which is at the bottom of Stormhill. When you make it to the Waypoint Ruins, near the center of the area, you're going to be looking for the stairs down in a mostly closed off little section, and I'm looking at it from the top down, but it's pretty much in the center of the area. Down the stairs, you're going to take on a little mini-boss for this area. It is called the Mad Pumpkin Head, and its big gimmick is that its head is protected, so it takes less damage than its body does, so just keep that in mind. Take down the Mad Pumpkin Head to gain access to this door, which is going to guard an NPC. That NPC is named Sorcerer Selen, and she is going to be an NPC that we need later on to get one of the legendary sorceries. So keep her in mind, accept her request to learn sorceries, buy whatever you want, and then just make sure that you don't ever attack her in this area, or else you lose her as an NPC and have to wait until New Game Plus. Head out of the ruins and follow the road that leads directly south. You'll pass the Agheel Lake south side of Grace, which is on the right side in the middle of these 3 big rocks. Cross the bridge that is covered in enemies and a ballista that shoots exploding bolts. And through a little valley area that is full of these little harpy enemies and a giant on the far right side if you want to take him on for some extra souls. When you come to the big wall, head off to the left side to find both a merchant and a site of grace that you can rest at and level up. When you enter the wall, just head straight ahead and you will find a stele, and at the bottom of that stele is going to be a map for the Weeping Peninsula, which is the area that we're in. Continue south to find Castle Morn. It's going to be the next large area that we're going to go to. Now for the path through Castle Morn and double time. You're going to take the elevator up to come to a large open area that is full of these harpy enemies. There's a couple dogs off to the left back in the corner, and across the way is going to be a giant pumpkin head that you can fight if you want to for extra souls. Down the right path, you're going to be blocked by one enemy. Go around him and climb the ladder. You're going to come to an upper area that has a harpy that's going to be charging you, and then further down that way are going to be more harpies that can fly and shoot arrows at you. You're going to go to the farthest part and you're going to go across onto the bridge and roll down, jump over the small wall to a site of grace, and then from there you're going to pick your way down past all these walls, off the roofs. When you get on this bridge, you're going to look to the left side and jump off, and then again you're just going to make your way down to the very bottom. When you get onto the next part of the building, you're going to go into the hole very carefully. There are rafters here that you can land on, and you're going to turn the corner to the left when you get outside to come to your final site of grace. From this last site of grace in the castle, you're going to jump off of the roof down to the water below and get ready for your next boss fight. The Leonine Misbegotten, which I think is how you pronounce the actual name of it, has 2,200 health roundabouts. It has 1 phase, and it is not weak to anything, but it has no resistance to slash typing damage. I will leave this entire fight in because this is my New Game Plus playthrough. But the biggest thing about the Misbegotten is that it is extremely hyper-aggressive. So when you're running through your first time and you're low on health, flasks, and whatnot, you're going to want to make sure that you get hit by this thing as little as possible. It does a lot of damage to you, and it can buff itself by screaming. When it does scream, just like that when it did, it's going to up its resistances and take less damage from all of your attacks. Take it down and you're going to get your 5th achievement called Leonine Misbegotten, and you'll get your first legendary weapon called the Grafted Blade Greatsword. With Castle Morn finished, you're going to head back outside of the wall. You're going to head north up the main road, and right here you're going to turn left where it splits. You're just going to follow this area almost directly west. You're going to go through a little pond. You're going to come around the mountainside. You eventually come to a bridge. Cross this bridge that is being guarded by this weird dog beast thing. Keep following the road north until you get to the Church of Pilgrimage and you can find your first sacred tier. Head out of the church and walk directly towards the giant tree that's in front of you. And when you start going up the hill, look to your right a little bit. You're going to be looking for the stone structures. There's going to be a pillar, and behind that pillar is going to be the door to the Tombswort Catacombs, which is where we're going next. I'll leave the entire catacombs in double speed so you can see exactly where to go and what to do. But essentially what you're looking for is you're going to find a pillar of imp statues along the way. It's going to be breathing fire at you down a hallway, trying to stop you so that you get trapped by the skeletons. What you need to do is go down that hallway, and when you get to the statue, you need to hit it with some sort of weapon, and it's going to go down into the ground. And then when you jump on it after it's gone all the way down, you can get stuck like this. You need to jump off and then back on. But once you jump on it, it's going to rise back up, and this will take you directly to where you need to go to pull the lever that's going to open up the door that guards the boss fight, and I'll meet you at the boss fight. The boss for this dungeon is called the Cemetery Shade. It's pretty weak to most things, I think. We take it down pretty quickly. It can teleport, as you can see, but other than that, it's not too much of a hassle. Take it down and you're going to get the Leyndell the Headless legendary ashes, and it'll be your first of 6. Now I'll place a little bit of faith in you. Find your way there. You're going to start from Castle Morn and just follow the road all the way north until you get to the split just before the bridge that is in Limgrave. You're going to keep heading north a little bit and you will see a site of grace on the right side called the Mistwood Outskirts. We're going to start from there. From this side of grace, you're going to head southeast, pretty much almost all the way east, but just a tiny bit south, the first notch of the 4 between the 2 compass points. You're going to cross over this pond that has a couple bears, and they might follow you, they might not. Depends on how close you get. And when you keep going up the road, you're going to pass this other bear and find the stele that holds the map for the eastern portion of Limgrave. Beyond that, you're going to come up to the Siofra River well, which if you get stuck by the door, you just got to wait. But you will eventually go in and you will ride the elevator all the way down to the Siofra River well, which is where we're going next. The path from the first side of Grace and the Siofra River to the second one is extremely straightforward. So I'm just going to let you run through there, gather stuff that you want, and I'll meet you at the actual river. In the actual river, we're going to be looking for 8 torches, or braziers, whatever you want to call them. I think the game calls them torches. The first of which is directly in front of you when you leave the side of Grace. So this is what you're going to be looking for in the area, and I'm going to point all out 8 to you before we even get there. If you continue forward after that first torch, you're also going to find the map for the Siofra River against one of the columns that leads up to the Shunning-Grounds. The second torch is going to be found directly south from the first one. You're going to go past a giant crab up a small hill. On that small hill are going to be 3 or 4 of the spirit enemies that you've probably already seen. Take them out and then light the torch. The third torch is in the center of the area. It's going to be guarded by a couple of the spirit enemies, and one of them will have a bow that does a lot of damage to you, so take them out first. The fourth torch is to the east of the third one. It is going to be on the very eastern tip of the island. It's going to be guarded by 1 patrolling group of enemies and then 1 stationary group. The fifth torch is to the west of the fourth torch. It's going to be across a little pond and on a small hill. It's going to be guarded by 3 of the spirit enemies. The sixth torch is to the west of the fifth torch, and it's going to be guarded by 2 of those little orbs, and when they fire off other electricity, they will dissipate, so you will no longer have to worry about them. The last 2 torches are on the opposite side of the Worshipper Woods side of Grace from where you have been this whole time, so head over to the northern edge of the island. The 7th torch is directly north of the Worshipper Woods side of Grace. It'll be guarded by, I think, 1 spirit enemy and a couple rats. And the final torch will be to the west of the 7th torch. It's going to be guarded by 2 spirit enemies, 3 small rats, and 1 large rat. It's going to be up on a hill, and then when you light it, it's going to say that power has gathered elsewhere, and then we're going to go back to the little Citadel Cathedral type area near the first side of Grace. Interact with the spirit type thing that is laying down at the end of that little Citadel area, and it'll take you to the next boss fight. The Ancestor Spirit has around 4,200 health. There's only 1 phase, and it is weak to fire, holy, and slash type damage. It will start across the arena from you, and as you get closer, it will very likely use the attack where it jumps up in the air and like double jumps and triple jumps, and then slams down onto where you're standing, and it can just be rolled out of pretty easily. It can spit fire on the ground in a direct line. Even though it kind of walks in like a semicircle, the fire will come out in a straight line. It can close the distance between you and it by lowering its head and charging at the player. And it can use its head as a weapon and swing it back and forth 2 or 3 times. It can jump in the air like the first attack that it did and spew fire in an arc around where it is. And lastly, if you're too close to its front or back legs, it will try and rise up and stomp on you, or kick you from behind. Take down the Ancestor Spirit and you will get your 6th achievement titled Ancestor Spirit. That will be everything in the Siofra River, so head back to the elevator out and just ride it up and we'll meet you at the top. At the top of the elevator, you're going to head south out of the forest and it's going to take you to Fort Height on the southern peninsula of this area. Make your way through Fort Height wherever you see fit, whatever way you want to do it. And at the very top of this ladder, you're going to find a chest that is going to hold half of the Dectus Medallion, which we will need later on to open a lift to take us to the mid-game section of this game. Now we're going to head back to the War Master's shack, and we're going to go slightly north and west to that area where you see the bridge on the top right of the map. There is a site of grace just before the bridge, and on the hill above you is an NPC named Jar Pot Alexander or something like that. You can free him and start his questline if you like. Follow the road west past the bridge and you will eventually come upon Summon Water Village. You're going to be looking for the imp statue, which is towards the back of the village. It's going to ask for 1 stone sword key. you can go down there and open the chest, and you're going to find the green turtle talisman. I put this in here because I used it much later on for a boss fight, so I just felt like I'd include it now so that we'd have to backtrack later. Back on the road, you will eventually come across the Smoldering Church, which is our official intro into the Caelid region of the map. You'll be invaded by Anastasia, so take her down if you like. She's not that difficult. And leave the church, and we're going to follow the road until we come along the steel, which is going to be on the right side of the road. That's going to find the map for one section of Caelid. Along the way, you'll grab the Caelid Ruins Site of Grace, which is just outside of the Caelid Ruins. And just before you get to the map and the steel, you're going to see a dragon on the right side of the road. Go past the dragon, and you'll come to this ruined church. Inside, you're going to grab the Site of Grace, and this is where you're going to be able to learn dragon spells later on. We need one that is going to be a legendary spell. Keep going down the road, and you will come across the map. And if you keep following down the road, you will come across a gate, which is going to take you to Celia, the town of sorcery. Celia is a pretty much crumbled down town, which is full of sorcerers and these like husk guys that can also use some sorcery. If you want to go down and around the town, it'll be safer than trying to travel through it so that you can get a Site of Grace and have a safety area to start from. Go through the town to the northwest part, and you're going to find a very large staircase. Climb to the top to grab a golden seed. Then go back down the staircase and hop onto the giant branch that's heading back towards town. You are going to make your way across the rooftops to the southeastern edge of the town, and you are going to climb the ladder that is going to take you to the first torch, which you need to light 3 of to take down all the barriers around town and get access to other spells, weapons, staffs, and one boss fight if you want to fight him. After the first torch, go back across the rooftops you just came from, and you'll see another giant branch which is going to be going up and kind of to the northwest. You're going to follow that branch, and it's going to take you to the second torch that you need to light. This one's actually going to give you access to the area that we need to go next. There is a third torch that you can light. You can find it over by where the golden seed was in the northwestern portion of the town. Just hop down onto the branch and then climb the ladder. And this torch is going to give you access to the boss fight in this area, which is a Nox priest and priestess. Pretty easy fight, actually. Whether you fight the boss or not, head through the door that was previously blocked by where that grand central staircase is. You're going to find a Site of Grace, and you're going to continue up the hill. You're going to be heading toward the very top of the hill, and there's actually going to be a boulder that spawns that gets in your way and can one-shot kill you if you're not careful. At the top of the hill, you're going to find a couple graveyards, and you're also going to find the Church of the Plague. Grab that Site of Grace. You can also get a Sacred Tear, and you can find an NPC that you can do the quest for if you feel like it. If you head out through the broken wall of the church, you will pass through a graveyard or two, and behind an enemy that's standing in front of a gravestone by himself, you're going to see a big wall. You need to get off your steed and roll into that wall. It will be a fake wall, and then move into that area to grab the Site of Grace. This is going to be somewhere we're going to come back later to get another legendary spell as part of a quest line. So keep this in mind. We'll be back here after a while. Nothing else to do here right now. Going back outside of the town of Celia, we're going to take a quick detour to get a really powerful staff and a really powerful spell that would last us through the rest of the game if we did magic. All you're going to do is head to where I have marked in the Street of Sages ruins. There's 2 locations. The first one is going to be underground. Hop over the wall, and it's going to take you down into the cellar. There's going to be a chest down there that you can open up, and it's going to give you the Rock Sling Sorcery. It is one of the strongest gravity-based sorceries in the game. Then you're going to head to the other location. It's going to be a small building on a raised platform, guarded by a few of these flower guys. They are guarding the Meteorite Staff, which is going to be an extremely useful staff for early and mid-game. It can't be upgraded, but it's extremely, extremely useful. The Meteorite Staff is so useful because it is a based S tier intelligence scaling weapon. So the higher your intelligence is, the more damage this is going to do. And the Rock Sling Sorcery is a very high damaging spell that has a pretty low requirement, and it Makes it really easy to stun enemies. With those two incredible things in hand, we're now going to go back to the Caelid ruins. We're going to be making our way to a different part of Caelid. You're going to follow along the northern edge of the platform that you are on. You will eventually come to this little gap that you can jump over with your steed. It's going to take you to the Dragon Barrow. If you follow the road along the Dragon Barrow, you're going to come across Elder Dragon Grail. Massive dragon, you can't miss it. Don't bother fighting it right this second. Instead of fighting her, turns out Grail is a she. Instead of fighting her, go behind her and you will find a site of grace, which is going to be just outside of Fort Farum. Now that we're on the backside of Grail, if you started as any class except for the Samurai, you're going to equip the flail that we grabbed earlier because it is a very good bleed weapon. You're going to run up to Grail's tail. There should be a message nearby that lets you know where to hit it. You're going to lay into Grail for a while. You're going to build up the bleed effect. And once it procs, it's going to deal 15% of her total health. Grail has a resistance to hemorrhage of 575. And the flail deals 50 bleed damage, so you need to hit her 12 times each in order to proc the bleed. You should get between 70 and 80,000 souls. You will get 3 dragon hearts, and you will now be able to buy her spell from the cathedral that we found earlier. Now we're going to quickly run into Fort Farum. Inside Fort Farum, you're going to find the second half of the Dectus Medallion, and we're going to get one of our first legendary talismans. The medallion is at the top of the first ladder after you get through the area with all of the harpy enemies. At the very top, it's just going to be a chest sitting in front of you. Open it up and you will now have both halves of the Dectus Medallion, and we can officially enter the Altus Plateau if we want to, but not right now. Instead, we are going to jump off of the platform that we're on onto the lower part of the roof, and we're going to jump back into the building from the other side of the roof that we're on now. There are 2 holes. We need to jump into the further one. We need to jump from this piece of wood that we are on onto a different piece of wood over by where this rat is hiding. There are 2 more rats on this upper platform, one of them normal, one of them giant. Make your way past them and then drop down the hole to pick up Radagon's Sword Seal, which will be the first of the 6 legendary talismans that we have to pick up. With those things in hand, head back to the Cathedral of Dragon Communion. At night, interact with the torch to buy Grail's Roar. It's going to be your first of 7 legendary sorceries. Now to continue our journey, we're going to turn right at the intersection where we found the map. It's going to take you through this battleground, and you're going to find a site of grace at the end of the bridge, which is called the Unpassable Bridge, I think. Pick up that site of grace and get ready to run. While crossing the bridge, they're going to shoot these big rocks at you that are on fire from these trebuchets. They're easy enough to dodge, but if you're not paying attention, you can get knocked off the bridge pretty easily. Cross the bridge and head up the hill. The main gate's going to be closed, so turn to the right, and you're going to make your way around this area. It's just going to take you around the castle. There'll be a couple harpy enemies that you can kill or avoid. Either way, make your way to the back of the castle. There's going to be a small gap that you have to jump over, or you can fall to your death. Climb the ladder that's behind the building. Don't bother going up the stairs because it's a locked door. Take care of the 2 enemies that are at the top of the ladder. And then if you want to avoid an enemy that is pretty difficult to beat, you can just throw yourself right off the roof. Head into the room that's behind you when you land to open up a shortcut back outside so you don't have to climb the ladder again. And if you want to avoid another potentially difficult fight, you can use this statue right here to jump over the wall and make it a pretty easy path to where you need to go next. Follow the wall to your right and you will come across this area that is full of these flamethrowers and a few other enemies. The flamethrowers can reach you from pretty far, so make sure that you're careful. Take down the enemies, and you're going to head into the room to find a site of grace before a particularly difficult boss fight. Now this boss fight is not easy in the slightest. In fact, I totally skipped this boss fight until much later in the game because of how difficult it is. So just know that you can skip this boss fight, and that's what I will do for the guide. But if you really want to, you can try and fight these guys now. It's 2 bosses in one, neither of which you would have faced at this point if you've been following this guide. But I do not recommend it, so I'm not going to bother explaining it right now. I'll come back to it later on. Instead of finding them, we're going to go to the site of grace that you find when you defeat Godric the Grafted. We're going to head into the next area of the game. Make your way through the door. The next area is very self-explanatory and simple. You can't use your weapons, you can't find anybody. Just make your way out through the rooms and you will come to Liurnia of the Lakes. Find your first site of grace there. Hop on Torrent and head down the road. You will come across a church that's going to house an NPC that you need to offer 10 runes to. He will sell you 2 basic spells, which are very, give or take. He will also tell you about a key that you need to find to enter a legacy dungeon later on that houses a major boss for the game. With that information in hand, head down the road through an encampment. Continue down the road and you're going to find the edge of the lake, which is very large, and you're going to find another site of grace for you to rest at. A short way into the lake, you're going to find the map on the right side guarded by a few basic enemies. We are now going to follow the rightmost edge of the lake until we get to this bridge that goes out of the lake and onto the land. Grab the site of grace here upon the bridge for later on. Continue north along the right edge of the lake and you will eventually come across a site of grace which is on a small patch of land and has this big open area going behind it. Go back to the previous site of grace we found by the bridge and you're going to go directly into the lake, going towards this little sunken town, and you will come across the map for this section of the lake, as well as a site of grace that we can make use of. We're not going to be looking to head to this spot, which is just outside of the academy, the large open area that you can't access yet. This is where we're going to find a map that's going to lead us to the key that the guy was talking about earlier. Do your best to follow the road, as much as there is one, until you find the wooden barriers, and it's going to lead you directly to that map we just talked about. The map is found at the very top of the bridge. It's going to be sitting on a corpse. You just pick it up and you're good to go. Here's a close-up of that map. All it's telling you, it's difficult to read. All it's telling you is that there is a key to the west of the academy. You kind of have to suss out for yourself where it actually is, but I'm just going to tell you where it is. If you look at your map, it's in this rocky section. It's just to the west, so you got to go down into the lake and go around the castle to find it, but it's pretty simple. If you want to, you can hop off the balcony just down the bridge where we found the map. There's a safe area for you to get down, and then you can just follow the rocks around to get to where we need to go. When you get there, the key is going to be guarded by a dragon that is sleeping, so you can sneak in there, grab the key, and get out if you don't want to fight it, or you can take on the dragon for some extra souls. Head back to the gate and interact with it, and it's going to take you into the Liurnia Academy. Grab the site of grace while you're here for teleporting later, and then head through the other gate to be taken to the northern part of Liurnia of the Lakes. When you spawn into the Belem Highway, look off to your left and you're going to find a site of grace that you should grab for safety. And from here we're going to look to the right side of the gate we just came from. We're going to look for the edge where we can start falling down these little, gravestones maybe is what they could be. When you get to the bottom, you're going to follow the leftmost wall back into the lake. It's going to take you to the mouth of this cave, which is going to be the Liurnia Crystal Tunnel. You can take this dungeon on now if you like, or you can wait till later when I explain it to you, but it's going to give you an important item for achievement progression later on. It'll make your weapon stronger. Back on the Belem Highway, you're going to follow along the western edge of the cliff. You're going to eventually run across the Belem Church. Grab that site of grace and the sacred tear that are both found in there, and make your way down the hill that is through the little hole in the floor. At the very end of this ravine that we find ourselves in, we're going to grab a site of grace that is going to be for a boss fight later on, which is a secondary entrance into the Altus Plateau that is separate from the Grand Lift of Dectus. So you can do both ways and get there at the same time. Go back out of the valley the same way that we came in. Instead of going up the hill, you're going to follow the right wall. You're going to grab a site of grace along the way and make your way out of the valley. Keep following along the right side of the wall. There will be one hill that you can go up, which is not going to take you where you need to go. So bypass that one and go up the second hill. You will eventually come across the King's Realm ruins. On the opposite end of the ruins from where you came in is going to be an illusory wall that hides a site of grace and the smithing master named Iji. Iji sells the Somber Smithing Stones 1, 2, 3, and 4, which will take a unique weapon from +0 to +4, which is a pretty big boost in power. After you've settled up with Iji, you're going to head up the hill past all these raining arrow bombs, and you're going to make your way to the outside of the Carrier Manor. Make it to the door, safety, grab the site of grace, and that is all we will do here right now. We'll be back here later for a legendary weapon, a boss fight, and story progression. Head back through the King's Realm ruins, and you're going to continue down this hill path that you're on now. You will eventually come across the map for this section of Liurnia of the Lakes, and that should be all the maps for this area that you would need. Continue south, past several locations and sites of grace. You will come to a part of the lake where the water is a different color, more like a swamp. This is what we're looking for. You're going to be looking along the right wall for a path that goes up near where there's a couple bodies hanging and it just looks more derelict than others. This is the village of the Albinorix. It is an important location for the story much later on for one of the secret endings. Head up the hill from the Site of Grace and you're going to see this pot at the top. It's secretly going to be one of the Albinorix. Talk to him and he will give you 1/2 of the secret Haligtree medallion, which is going to let you get to a boss fight later on and some of the legendary talismans and whatnot. That is all of the major locations we need to find for Liurnia. So now we're going to head to the eastern Liurnia Lake Shore Site of Grace to get one more Site of Grace for later and discover a new area. Follow the cliffside to the south and you're going to come across a pretty much large building. And the Site of Grace inside is going to be called the Study Hall entrance. We're going to need that for later on for part of a secret ending. Now we're going to head directly north from the Study Hall entrance, follow around the cliffside again. You're going to pass a couple of these fire enemies, and in the distance you will see a giant that is guarding the entrance to a well that we need to go down. Make it past the giant and head down the elevator, and you will end up in an area called the Ainsel River. That is officially everything we need to find in Liurnia of the Lakes, so this is the order that I'm going to run down the locations that we need to go to. First we're going to go through the Raya Lucaria Crystal Tunnel to get an upgrade material. Then we're going to take on the Academy, then the Manor. We're going to take down a side boss to get a legendary sorcery. Then we're going to find the Magma Worm, which guards one of the entrances to the Altus Plateau. And lastly, we will come back to the river, take on the mini-boss, and be done with this area. I'll let you explore the Crystal Tunnel on your own. Just know that at the end, the boss is called the Crystallion. It is resistant to most types of damage up to a point, so if you have strike damage, that'll do the best for you. Either way, once you take it down, it's going to drop the Smithing Stone Miner's Ball Bearing, which you're going to need to take to the Twin Maiden Husks and the Round Table Hold. With that bearing in hand, they will sell you Smithing Stones 1 and 2 for 200 and 400 runes respectively, which will upgrade your weapons to +3 and +6 respectively, so very useful. Upgrade whatever you want and head back to the main academy gate and make your way into the Raya Lucaria Academy. The path through is very, very straightforward. Just fight enemies and keep moving and you'll find everything that you need to find. You can even run straight through the graveyard, no stopping, jump on the lift, and exit the graveyard with no issues whatsoever. Just be done with the whole first half of the academy. Lastly, make your way up the stairs past all these enemies and you will come to a fog gate which is going to guard the next boss, which is going to be called the Red Wolf of Radagon. The Red Wolf of Radagon has 2,200 health roundabouts, has 1 phase, and is weak to slash type damage. First things first, the Red Wolf is very, very good at dodging magic-based attacks. It will regularly spawn these single blue swords that are going to fly directly at you. They're easy to dodge, but it can spawn 1, 2, or 3 at a time. The wolf can jump high into the air and use its red blade that it spawns out of nowhere to swing down on you, so make sure you delay your roll before it, jumps down on you. It can also use that sword while just on its feet. It's a very quick attack, so if you're not ready for it, if you're not paying attention, it'll get you most times, and it can be a 3-hit combo as well. The wolf can use a Comet Soul type attack, where it builds up the attack in its mouth, jumps into the air, and then shoots it down at you. Take down the Red Wolf, and you will get the achievement titled Red Wolf of Radagon. You will also get a Memory Stone, which is going to increase the amount of spells that you can assign at one time. Head out of the arena where you fought the Red Wolf and hang a right just outside. You're going to jump over the rail along the edge and you will climb a ladder at the end, which is going to take you to the area just above the Red Wolf's arena. You're going to head around the right side of that area and you will eventually find a chest that is going to give you your second legendary talisman, which is called Radagon's Icon, just like the wolf. Back outside of the Red Wolf's arena, this is going to be the path to take on the next boss, which is the second major boss you'll fight if you follow my guide. There's going to be a boulder on this bridge that you're going to go up. You need to fall down the edge onto one of the beams, climb up, and as soon as you get on the stairs, it's going to spawn a boulder that if you hang the left side, you can roll right through the boulder, no issues. And then you're going to continue up the stairs, and in the next courtyard is going to be an enemy that is actually pretty tough when you first come through. But if you're clever or you get lucky, you can use the elevator that's here to cause the enemy to attack you and throw themselves off the elevator. They will die, give you their shield, and you won't really have to fight them. Ride the elevator to the top. You're going to take you to a giant boss fog. and you're going to get ready to fight the next major boss, which is called Rennala. Rennala, Queen of the Full Moon, which is her full title, has 3,500 health in her first phase and 4,000 health in her second phase. Obviously she has 2 phases, but they're 2 full boss fights, and she is weak to slash, standard, and thrust type damage. Phase 1 is extremely simple. You're going to find these witches on the ground. One of them is going to have an aura around their head. It's pretty golden, it's hard to miss, but it's also hard to find sometimes. You need to hit them 3 times, and it's going to crack the bubble that she's in. After the 3rd hit, she will fall to the ground. They will stop attacking you, and this is your chance to get as much damage in on Rennala as you can. She just lays there, takes it. You can do this in 1 round. I've done it in 1 round before. Not very easy, but it is possible. When she finally goes down, you will get a little cutscene that's going to start phase 2. And phase 2 always starts with this attack where she builds up a comet type attack and then she just shoots it directly at you. It's pretty easy to avoid. She can summon these slow pebbles that follow you at a pretty slow pace. They're easy enough to avoid, but there are 5 of them. She can perform a crystal type spell which basically just spews out in front of her, and she can also throw her staff in an arc around her. It spins and can interrupt your attacks. She can do another type of crystal attack where she puts out a few in front of her. I think it's up to 7, and they come at you faster than the pebbles do, but they're still pretty easy to dodge. At any point during the fight, she can turn into a full moon herself, where she becomes invulnerable for a few seconds, and when she comes out, the full moon is going to slowly chase you until it hits the ground and explodes after a small delay. Take her down to get the achievement title Rennala, Queen of the Full Moon, and if you didn't get the rune achievement earlier, you will get it now automatically. It'll just come to you. So if you didn't get that one earlier, you don't have that one as well. You can now trade these rare items called larval tears. You can find them throughout the world. There's one in the village of the Albanorex. You get 2 for defeating a boss later, and there's a couple other random enemies that turn into other enemies that drop these when they die. You can trade them with Rennala, who is now, just kind of hanging out in her boss arena. You can use them to change your appearance, and you can change your stats. You can reallocate using these. Reallocate if you want to, level up if you want to, and now we're going to head to Carrier Manor. As you make your way through the manor, you're going to hug the right side wall to come to this garden area where you can take down this beetle. He's going to drop the Carrion Piercer, which is a very useful spell if you are playing as a sorcerer. Continue making your way through the manor, down the central road, and you will come into a church type area. It's going to house the first site of grace, which is inside the manor. From that site of grace, you're going to head outside and you will be on an upper pathway, which is a couple walkways, and there are going to be some enemies that spawn out of nowhere. You're going to turn left at the first intersection on these upper pathways instead of continuing forward. And at the end, you will look off to the left side. You will see a building below you that you can jump down onto. From that rooftop, look down one more rooftop. You can climb down the ladder or fall in the hole. You can open up the chest in that room to find your second legendary weapon called the Sword of Night and Flame. Go back to the walkways in the upper area, and instead of turning left this time, you're going to continue forward. You're going to eventually come to an elevator, which is going to take you to your next site of grace. If you follow the main path through this very small area, you will pass a couple wolves and come to an archway where you can see a giant through the door. At the top of the stairs, you're going to see another door, which is going to house a arena surrounded by chairs. Walk or creep your way into that circle, and you're going to take on the next boss, which is going to be called Royal Knight Loretta. Royal Knight Loretta has around 4,200 health, only has 1 phase, and is weak to physical and lightning damage. Loretta can spawn in these swords that hang out around her for a few seconds, and then chase you down. She can shoot a bolt at you from her staff. She can shoot it up to like 4 or 5 times if she likes, but it's usually just once at a time. She can chase you down and use regular melee attacks, which are usually in combos of 2 or 3 attacks at a time. She can also add magic damage to that combo to do a little bit more damage to you at once instead of just pure attacks. At around half health, she will power up, but I don't count this as the second phase because nothing really changes. But she lifts her shield up in the air and gets a little aura around her. The only thing that changes is she can now summon twice the swords at a time, and she can use her own spell, which is called Loretta's Great Bow, which is very powerful if you're not paying attention. Take her down to get the achievement title Royal Knight Loretta, and you will also get her spell, which is called Loretta's Great Bow. It's very useful for taking things down from a distance. Make your way out the other side of Loretta's arena. It's going to take you to a sub-area of Liurnia called the Three Sisters. You're going to go to the westernmost tip of this area. You're going to find Ranni's Rise, which is a critical area we need to go. Go ahead and climb to the top of Ranni's Rise, grabbing the side of grace along the way. And if this is the first time you've been here, if you've been following my guide, she won't actually be here. It'll be empty like this, and we will have to come back here after we defeat a boss later on. For now, instead of going to that boss, we're going to go to the Liurnia Lakeshore Side of Grace. We're actually going to be looking for that small little Evergaol symbol, which is right next to it, but we need to go around the corner to get to it. For reference, we're going to be starting from the location where we find the map. If you go directly towards the wall from that location, you will find that spirit spring. That's going to take you to the Evergaol that we need to go to fight Adon, the Thief of Fire. Adon has a few attacks that he can use. He does this attack here where he does a combo. He will not stop for a while. He can chase you down and use basically what is combustion from other Souls games. He can also use this attack, which is what we're going to be here for, called Flame of the Fell God. It will chase you down, and when it gets close enough, it will explode twice. Basically, just keep your distance from him, lay on him, let him heal, take him down. You will get the Flame of the Fell God legendary incantation. It'll be number 2 of 7 that we need. With Adon down, we're now going to head to the end of the ravine that we found earlier, and we're going to find our way to the Magma Worm. The path ahead is just as straightforward as the Raya Lucaria Academy was. The only enemies here are going to be the Harpies, and you will find a couple of the land octopuses. Octopi? We'll go with octopi. They can gang up on you and they can be dangerous, but if you keep your distance and take them on one at a time, it's very easy. You're going to take an elevator ride up to the top, which is going to take you to the Side of Grace just outside of the boss fog. This area is very straightforward. You can't get lost. There's no other side paths to go down. Just head to the boss fog, and we are going to get ready to take on the Magma Worm Makar. Magma Worm Makar has around 7,200 health. There are 1.5 phases, sort of, and he is weak to strike, pierce, and standard type damage. Makar is legitimately the easiest Soulsborne, Sekiro, Elden, whatever boss you want to call him, that I've ever fought. I got hit once or twice this whole fight. I only had to fight him one time. His attacks are very basic. He throws fire. He tries to swing at you. That's about it. At half health, he's gonna infuse his arm with fire, but absolutely nothing changes about the fight. He's still really dumb. You can use the center post as a sort of like corralling method. Other than that, just lay into him. He'll be dead sooner than you can realize that you even fought him. I mean, it's just that easy. Take it down to get the achievement titled Magma Worm Makar, and do not feel satisfied at all, because that was too easy. If you want to, you can go through his arena to get to the Altus Plateau, but we're going to go the traditional route and we're going to head back to the Bellum Highway. You're going to follow the Bellum Highway north from the Side of Grace. There are going to be trebuchets throwing, rocks at you. Make sure you avoid them to the best of your ability. They will do a lot of damage each time. It's eventually going to take you to the Grand Lift of Dectus with a Side of Grace just outside of it. Activate the Grand Lift of Dectus for a little cutscene. Actually a pretty cutscene, but don't really need to watch it. And it is officially going to take you to the Altus Plateau. You've officially reached the mid-game. Congratulations. Just off the left of the Grand Lift of Dectus, you're going to find a rocky area, which is going to house the Altus Plateau Side of Grace. Make sure you grab it now because it makes key events progress through the story. Now we're going to take a quick trip through the Ainsel River, so head back to that area. It's extremely straightforward. It'll be easy enough. Basically, from the Side of Grace, all you're going to do is head down river. If you don't know where to go, look for where the water is going down instead of up or to the side. That's where you need to go. You're going to come across a dam type thing, which is going to house a Side of Grace at the top. Make sure you grab that. Then you're going to take the elevator down, which is going to allow you to continue through the river. You will cross the Ul Palace ruins, where a bunch of these rolly boys are going to chase you down. They're easy enough to avoid, and they can't hurt you while they're rolling, so just avoid them. Through the building into the next area, you're going to start being attacked by a malformed star, which is going to be hanging out on the opposite side of the room. Easy enough to avoid, just keep an eye out for it. If you make it into the building where the malformed star is hanging out on the lower side, you can find a merchant and you'll find the map for the Ainsel River. From that building, you're going to hug the right side of the wall. It's going to take you down another small path where you can find the river that you need to continue following. You grab a site of grace, and like I said earlier, if you don't know where to go, just keep going down river. That's all it is. After a little bit more downriver, you're going to come across a giant arena with these statues coming out of the ground. Very creepy. You're going to fight your next boss, which is called the Dragonkin Soldier. The Dragonkin Soldier of Nokstella has around 4,400 health. There are 1.5 phases, and it is not weak to anything. You'll need to run a good way into the arena for the Dragonkin Soldier to even appear. It's going to come out of the sky and get ready to fight. Phase 1 is all about melee attacks, so keep your distance because it has a very long reach. Get the attacks in when you can, and you'll eventually take it down to half health and start phase 1.5. The Dragonkin will start phase 1.5 by powering yourself up with both ice and lightning, so it now does 3 kinds of damage, so be extra careful. And it will start phase 1.5 by throwing ice lightning into the ground, which is easy enough to dodge because it gives you a telltale sign of where it's going to strike. It also adds a few more melee attacks to its repertoire, so make sure you're careful dodging out of the way of those because it does do that 3 types of damage now. Take it down to get the achievement titled Dragonkin Soldier of Nokstella. You will also get the Frost Lightning Spear sorcery. And head under the statue to get a chest that is going to hold a Great Ghost Glovewort, which lets you upgrade your special ashes all the way up to +10. That is everything we need to do in Liurnia of the Lakes for now, so we will leave that area alone, head back to Caelid. You are going to go to the chamber outside the plaza, and we're going to go back to that arena where we skipped that boss fight earlier. But instead of fighting the boss, we're going to find out that the arena is full of NPCs, and there's a festival about to begin, so head up and talk to the jester to actually begin the festival. There's going to be a pretty twisted and disgusting cutscene. Watch it if you want, or not, it's pretty weird. After you watch the cutscene or not, you're going to make your way through the church and down an elevator, which is going to take you to an area with a statue of Marika and a wayport on the water's edge. That wayport is going to take you to the next boss arena, which is also the next major boss for the game, so get ready to fight Starscourge Radahn. Starscourge Radahn has around 9,500 health. There are 2.5 phases, and it is weak to pierce, magic, fire, and lightning damage, and can be inflicted with Scarlet Rot, which does a ton of damage. In the arena between you and Radahn, there are going to be all these summon signs that you can summon NPCs from. There are people you may or may not have seen through the game, and I believe you can summon up to 7 NPCs at one time. Radahn will start the fight by shooting those purple arrows at you from a distance. They are gravity type attacks, they do a ton of damage. They can one-shot you if you don't have high enough health or armor. As you close distance, he will shoot those arrows into the air at you, and then he will shoot a few volleys at you like normal. He may or may not switch back to his purple arrows as you close the distance. It's really up to, the individual fight and how you feel like at that time. Phase 1 is all about melee attacks, so if you are a magic user, just keep your distance. That's pretty much just a good general rule for this fight at all times, is keep your distance. If you don't summon another human player, you can ride your horse, so take advantage of that if you like. He can cover a lot of distance in one combo like this one right here. So if he's chasing you, the horse is going to be very, very valuable. At around 75% health, we're going to enter phase 1.5, which is where he slaps his swords together, throws them into the ground, and now is imbued with magic type damage. He has a few new attacks. He does extra damage with each attack because he is now using that gravity type damage. So keep an eye out for that. The goal here is to just get him to half health so that he moves on to the next phase. At half health, he is going to jump high into the sky, and this is your perfect time to run around and try and resummon any NPCs that have died. There's a small cooldown for them to be respawn, but now is the chance. Phase 2 will start with him flying back into the arena like a meteor. It is very likely to kill you or any NPCs that are following you, so if you do have NPCs following you, make sure they're kind of out of the way if you can help it, because you don't want them to die going right into phase 2. The biggest change in phase 2 is that he has 2 new gravity-based attacks, which, if they're used at the same time, can pretty much instantly kill you. One is the gravity bolts that he can throw at you from a very long distance, and the other one is the gravity meteors, or earth, or whatever you want to call it, that he pulls up. They will hover around him until he runs directly away from you, and then he does a turn around to charge at you, Those meteors will also fly at you in that time in 2 separate groups, and they're not that easy to dodge, so if you're not paying attention, they can take you out in one shot. If you are paying attention and your dodging skills aren't good enough, they can still take you out in one shot, so just be extra careful with those. Pretty much the easiest way to avoid it is to have him focus on an NPC instead of you. That's just about it. Take him down with the help of the NPCs or not, however you feel like it. You will get the achievement titled Shardbearer Radon, and then you will get a cutscene that shows a meteor striking somewhere in Limgrave. We're going to go there at some point. Before we go anywhere else, we're going to stay in the arena that we're in. It's going to be calm now, so you can do whatever you want. You're going to follow the ocean to the northern edge. You're going to find a door in the wall, and it's going to take you to the War Dead Catacombs. I'm going to leave the catacombs in at double speed so you can see exactly where to go and what to do. Basically, you're going to make your way past all these enemies that are fighting each other. You don't really have to fight anybody in this whole catacombs if you don't want to. There are lots of enemies that deal gravity type damage that can take you down in one shot, so make sure you're extra careful. You're looking for the correct window to jump out of, which is easier said than done because there's enemies fighting you. But you need to jump out and avoid these goblins that can come after you. Avoid this next knight, which can continue to shoot those purple bolts at you, and pull the lever. And then you're going to head directly across from where you pulled the lever. I go backwards a little bit, don't worry about it. Head directly across from there is going to take you to the boss gate. You're going to fight a putrid spirit, which is a much harder fight than I thought it was going to be the first time around. The putrid tree spirit, you have to fight it in a small arena, which makes it really difficult because it has some very big attacks. It can grapple and kill you in one shot, and if you're not careful or you don't use an ash or what have you, this is a really difficult fight. I didn't beat it until after I beat the game because of how difficult it is. So just take your time if you need to, come back if you need to, what have you. But take it down, and it's going to drop the Red Mane Knight Ogre, Legendary Ash, and that's going to be, I believe, 2 of 6. Now that we're more equipped and we're ready to take on bigger challenges, head back to the plaza where you started the festival, and the jester that you talked to is going to be sitting in that chair that I just destroyed. Exhaust his dialogue, and you're now going to head back to the chamber outside the plaza site of grace, make our way back into the plaza, and we're going to fight those bosses that we skipped earlier. This fight is a dual boss fight. You're going to be fighting a Misbegotten Warrior and a Cathedral Knight. So you fought a Misbegotten Warrior before to get one of the legendary weapons. You may or may not have fought a Cathedral Knight at this point. I'm not sure because if you've been following my guide, you haven't. If you've been doing all the dungeons and other bosses and stuff, you probably have. But essentially, from when you walk into the arena, you've got 1 minute before the Cathedral Knight spawns. So take down the Misbegotten Warrior as quickly as you possibly can, so that you're not fighting 2 bosses at once. Or, use your ashes or NPC summon or what have you to make your life as easy as you can. Manage to take down these bosses, and you will get your 3rd legendary weapon called the Ruins Greatsword. With Caelid now taken care of, we're going to head back to Ranni's Rise outside of Caria Manor. Talk to Ranni at the top of her rise and exhaust her dialogue to continue the story. Go back down the rise to talk to the ghost of Smithing Master Iji and the sorcerer Saluvius at the bottom, who is actually conspiring against Ranni, fun fact. And then go back up and talk to her again and exhaust her dialogue to continue the story. Make your way to Fort Height, which is where you found 1/2 of the Dectus Medallion. And directly in front of you is going to be a absolutely massive hole in the ground with some rocks floating around in the air for fun. On the opposite side of the hole, we're going to pick our way down the rocks, eventually coming to a door that we're going to have to get off of our steed for. Go into the area and jump down off of the first platform. Jump off of the second platform and make your way outside to find Nokron, the Eternal City. Parkour your way across all the rooftops, past a few new enemies that are called Mimic Tears, and you will eventually come to the area where you need to jump back into the building to progress. Jump down off of this ledge again, and continue through the building to find your first set of grace. You're going to head across the plaza outside to find the staircase that ends up going down, and follow that path to the end to find the next boss fog where we're going to fight the Mimic Tier. The Mimic Tier is you, so it has your health, it only has 1 phase, and its weaknesses are technically none, but if you have any weaknesses like low resistance to fire, what have you, that's what the Mimic Tier has. So use it to your advantage. I'll loop the whole fight in so you can see how the fight goes, but literally it's just an exact copy of you, except for your spirit calling bell. It has everything you have. So if you come into the arena wearing what you normally do, it'll have those weapons, spells, healing, everything, just like you do. So take that into account when you go to fight it, when you go to take it on like a normal boss. Just know that it's you, so, deal with yourself. Does this count as therapy? I don't think that it does. Take it down to get the achievement title Mimic tier, and it also gives you 2 larval tiers which you can use for reallocation if you like. With the Mimic tier down, we're going to level up, do whatever we need to do, and then we're going to head out of the arena and cross the bridge. Turn left at the broken section of the bridge into this other area. Follow the left side of the cliff, and you're going to eventually find a site of grace. From that site of grace, you're going to jump down onto the buildings below. Make your way past a few Mimic tier enemies that actually turn into, sort of people, and cross this breaking bridge into another building. In the upper area of this building, you're going to go behind the big statue thing, and you're going to find an imp statue. It is going to ask you for 1 stone sword key, so go ahead and hand that over. And the enemy inside is going to be guarding a chest which holds the Mimic tier legendary ash, which is one of the strongest legendary ashes in the game. With the Mimic tier in hand, you're now going to go downstairs past this giant boulder. You'll find a site of grace at the base of the stairs, and you're going to make your way past all the mimics towards the building that's in the distance a little bit. One of these mimics can turn into a giant and very likely will do that, so be prepared. Make it past the mimics and the giant to get the Finger Slayer blade, which is going to progress Ronnie's quest, and you also get a Great Ghost Glovewort. We're going to head back to the Mimic tier side of grace, and this time cross the bridge. When you get to the end, instead of continuing on the left side of the path, we're going to light a couple torches and fight another boss instead. The first torch we're going to light is directly in front of us when we get off the bridge into this area. The second torch is to the northeast from the first torch. It's going to be behind the giant tree. Shouldn't be anybody guarding it. The third torch is along the main road on top of a small hill. It's going to be guarded by a few ancestor spirits and one of the, mother spirits. I don't know what else to call them. The fourth torch is going to be at the end of the main road. It's going to be guarded by several of the ancestor spirits. The fifth torch is going to be on the northwesternmost part of this map. It's going to be on the cliff edge, guarded by a few rats. And the last torch is going to be in the center of the arena, behind a giant tree, and it's going to be guarded by a red wolf. So, you don't have to fight it, but it can end up fighting you. With all the torches lit, make your way to the little cathedral area, where you see all the giant torches lit, and you can interact with the entity that's on the ground. It's going to take you to the next boss fight, and you're going to fight the Regal Ancestor Spirit instead of the regular Ancestor Spirit. The Regal Ancestor Spirit has around 6,300 health. There's only one phase, and it is weak to fire, holy, and slash type damage. The only real difference between this fight and the other Ancestor Spirit boss fight is that this boss can heal itself in 2 ways. It can summon magic with its horns and just heal itself like that, or it can do what it's doing right now, as it can become another animal and basically just, heal a little bit of their health. But that's pretty much it. Take it down and you will get the achievement title Regal Ancestor Spirit. Once you get back out into the real world, you're going to go behind the area where you found the 4th torch. You're going to pass a couple jellyfish and you're going to jump off of the ledge. It's scary, but I believe in you. Follow the path and you will eventually be able to jump down into a lower area called the Siofra Aqueduct. You can follow my path through the aqueduct, and it's going to take you to your next boss fight, which is going to be called the Valiant Gargoyle. And you can actually see the gargoyle waiting for you up on the ledge, being nice and patient. The Valiant Gargoyles, with an S, because there are 2, they have around 6,000 health each. I say there are 2 phases. It's really 1 phase, but there's 2 different boss fights, and they're both weak to strike type damage. I'm going to leave the entire fight in because it's fairly quick. I did it on my first try, not that big of a deal. Basically, the gargoyles are mostly melee. They have a little bit of magic damage, but it's only 1 or 2 attacks. Just focus on keeping them close range if you are a melee attacker, and keeping them long range if you are a magic user, they can switch to their other weapon, at will and do a quick combo that way, but it's not very likely. The only other thing is at 50% health, the other gargoyle is going to come into play. So if you can plan it to stun this first gargoyle near the door at 50% health, you will have a much better time going into the second half of the fight, because the other gargoyle is going to spawn on the opposite side of the arena. You can get a quick kill on this gargoyle while the other one spawns in and walks towards you. But that's pretty much it. Take them both down to get the achievement titled Valiant Gargoyle, and we're now going to make our way to another new area. At the base of the waterfall is going to be a coffin that you need to get into. You're going to have a little cutscene, and it's going to take you up into the sky instead of down, or whatever other direction you thought it was going to take you. The coffin is going to deposit you into an area called the Great Waterfall Basin. It's a pretty small area, relative to other areas, so let's go through it. The first thing we're going to do here is go to the center section where there's a large gap, and there are going to be some vines that cross from one side to the other. You're going to be looking for one that goes into the wall on your right side. You should see a cave in the wall. That's where you need to go to. This cave is full of ants, queens, and soldiers alike. You can take them all down if you want to. You can get a lot of runes in this room if you take the time. If not, you can just run to the opposite side of the cave. On the opposite side of the cave, along the cliffside, you're going to find the Elden Star's legendary incantation, number 3 of 7 of the legendary sorceries and incantations. From here, you can hop down and continue crossing the tree roots. It's going to take you to the other side of the cavern from where you started. On the other side of the chasm, you're going to run clear to the western edge. You're going to look for a finger reader crone and a site of grace overlooking a very wet city. In that very wet city, you're going to find a large route that you can climb up past this stationary dragon guy. You're going to keep climbing this giant center route until you can jump off of the center route onto a smaller one just off to your left. And from there you can drop down onto the site of grace just before the next boss arena. The next boss is a small boss. It's not related to the story, but we have to fight it in order to fight the next major boss, and it's called Fia's Champions. Fia's Champions is a 3-stage fight, with the first 2 stages being random invaders, one of which can be Sorcerer Rajier, who is the sorcerer that you probably used to help you fight Margit the Fell Omen back in Thornvale Castle. Round 3 of the fight, however, is 3 invaders, 2 of which are random, and one of those can be Sorcerer Rajier if it wasn't in the other ones. And the third invader is always going to be Lionel the Lionhearted, who is more of a danger than I thought he was going to be. He made it a lot harder than I thought. He can summon these skulls that can track you down for quite a while. They're slow, but they are relentless, so they're hard enough to dodge with Lionel also chasing you around. Take down all 5 of the invaders, and you will have defeated Fia's Champions. A set of grace will spawn, and you can rest at it to level up and what have you. Now we're going to take a quick trip to the Round Table Hold. We're going to go find an NPC named Fia. She's going to be found in the room that is behind Master Hugh. She's going to ask you if you want a hug, say yes. And then she is going to ask you to talk in secret. It'll be a dialogue option. Keep talking to her, and she is going to give you the Weathered Dagger, which you're going to need for this small quest line. You're going to give that Weathered Dagger to Dee, who sits in a chair in front of the round table. Then you're going to reload the area. Then enter the previously locked door that is at the end of the hall where you can find Master Hugh and Roderica. Chat with Fia until she disappears, and then we will have to do one more thing before we can fight another boss. For now, we're going to return to Ronnie's Rise outside of Carrion Manor, so we can progress that quest and get the item that will let us fight the next boss. Talk to Ronnie and show her the Fingerslayer blade, and she's going to give you the Carrion inverted statue, which you're going to need to progress the story, obviously. Head to the study hall entrance side of Grace that we found earlier on the eastern edge of Liurnia of the Lakes, and you're going to use the statue at the altar that is in front of you. You're going to get a little cutscene, and you're going to go up the stairs behind you, and everything's going to be inverted. You're basically just going to be going through this area. You can hug the right wall, and you'll get through this entire area. There will be a red phantom that you can fight if you want to. You don't have to, you can just avoid it, but it's going to make your life a little bit easier if you do take care of it before you continue on. You will come to a set of chandeliers that you need to fall down, so go ahead and fall down those chandeliers, and it's going to take you to an elevator, big wooden elevator. At the bottom of the elevator, you're going to open up a giant door that's going to take you outside. While you're crossing the bridge, about halfway down, you're going to come face to face with a Godskin noble. I would not recommend fighting at this time, given your limited space, and you should be pretty tired from the whole inverted statue thing. Open the giant door at the other end of the bridge, and ride the elevator all the way to the top. At the very top, you shouldn't be blinded anymore because I think they fixed this. It was a huge issue. But at the very top, you're going to find an item called the Curse Mark of Death, story progression item, and it's going to let us fight the boss that we skipped back in the Fia's Champions arena. Back in the Fia's Champions arena, you will now find Fia sitting in front of you. Talk to her, and when she gives you a question, make sure you say, "No, I want to be held," or else you will be locked out of this boss fight until the next time you come through this area, like in New Game Plus. Continue talking to Fia, and she's eventually going to ask you to hand over the Curse Mark of Death, or at least show it to her. Do that, and then you're going to reload the area. When you reload the area, you will see that Fia is sleeping, and you can enter her dreams, which is where we're going to fight the next boss, who is called the Lich Dragon Fortisax. The Lich Dragon Fortisax has around 13,000 health, only one phase, and it is weak to pierce type damage. The dragon will always start the fight by calling down this lightning attack. It is very easy to dodge because it tells you exactly where it's going to hit, so just look out for those little puddles. It can breathe fire directly in front of itself, which again is easy to dodge, just stay to one side or the other. It can also breathe fire a different way where it goes up higher and it breathes fire in more of a ranged area, so stay away from him when he does that. It can call lightning in its hand and then slam it down on the enemy, sending out waves in a cross-like pattern. And it can jump high in the air and use that same lightning as like a sword in a very, very wide circular pattern. So if you just roll away from the dragon, you should have no issues. Lastly, it can be stunned. So stun the dragon, do your critical. This critical just happened to kill it from a significant amount of health. Take it down and you're going to get the achievement titled Lich Dragon Fortisax. With the dragon down, we're going to go back to the arena where we fought Royal Knight Loretta, and instead of going to Ronnie's Rise on the western edge, you're going to go to Renna's Rise, which is directly in front of the exit from the Moon Gazing Grounds. It's confusing. There is just a ladder inside Renna's Rise, so climb to the top. Use the wayport that is found at the very top, and it's going to take you to a new area, which is just a separate portion of the Ainsel River called the Ainsel River Main. Directly in front of where you spawn in is going to be a collectible called the Miniature Ronnie, so go ahead and pick that up. Then rest at the nearby site of Grace and choose the option to talk to Ronnie 3 times, and you'll have a lovely chat with a doll where she asks you to go do something else for her. She is very demanding. Let's just do it. We are back in a riverbed, so you know what I'm going to say. If you get lost, just keep going down river. It's not difficult to find out where you need to go, and you can't really get lost. So I'll meet you down at the bottom when we find the entrance to Nokstella, the other part of the Eternal City. Jump down into Nokstella, the Eternal City, and grab the set of Grace that's here, and we're going to go and get one of our legendary talismans now. Moving ahead, you're going to follow the stairs on the left side past several mimics. You're basically just going to follow the path that's laid out before you, can't really deviate. You'll pass a giant sentient boulder that tries to run you over, and go through 3 separate church-like areas until you just really can't go anymore. There's a hard stop at the back wall. At the end, you're going to pick up the Mood of Nokstella, Legendary Talisman number 3 of 8. Back in the main area, like I said before, if you're lost, just keep going downstream. You'll eventually get to where you need to go. You will find a building with 2 statues outside and an elevator on the inside. That's where you need to go. At the bottom of the elevator, grab the Site of Grace and continue on with the tried and true method of just go downstream. You will eventually come to a room that is very red. You're going to fight a red NPC named the Baleful Shadow. It is basically Blade, an NPC who you may or may not have fought with before. He is summonable for the Star Squad Radon fight. Basically, you just need to take him down for Ronnie to continue on with the quest. Once you take him down, you're going to get an important item called the Discarded Palace Key, which we will use pretty soon. Take the elevator down to come to an area called the Lake of Rot, which we will definitely avoid because we are simply not ready for it at this point. We'll be back here much later on. Take a quick trip to the room where we fought Renala in the Raya Lucaria Academy, and you're going to use the key on the chest in that room to get the Dark Moon Ring, which we will need for story progression. It is now time to move on to the Altus Plateau. From the Altus Plateau Site of Grace, you're going to make your way to the main road that goes in front of the Grand Lift of Dectus, and follow that road until it splits, and you're going to follow it off to the left side. On the left side of the road, you will find a golden seed, and just up the hill from there, you will find the map for this part of the Altus Plateau. Continue along the road, and you will find a bridge that holds a Site of Grace, and a wayport on the other end that's going to take you to the opposite side of the Altus Plateau. On the other side of the bridge, we're going to head east. We are looking for Penninsula, the Windmill Village, which is a pretty good central point for this side of the Altus Plateau. From there, you're going to go southeast. You're going to go through the little forest in front of you, and you're going to follow along the cliff side, and you will eventually find a Site of Grace. That Site of Grace will prove very useful if you decide to take on the Black Knife assassin that is guarding the next area that we're going to find. Just ahead of you is going to be a field of flowers that call thunder down from the heavens. I don't know why that works, but it just does. And across that field is going to be the Sainted Hero's Grave, which we need to get access to for one of the legendary ashes. If you don't want to fight the Black Knife assassin, you can sneak past it. You can crouch on one side of the building from quite a distance instead of, running head on like a maniac. And once it moves, you can go past it, open the door, and you will have access to this grave. Take the elevator down, grab the Site of Grace inside, and head back to the Windmill Village, our central point. This time we're going to head northwest instead of southwest. It's going to be quite a long ride, but you are going to be looking for a bridge from one part of the area to another. The bridge will take you to the Bridge of Iniquity Site of Grace, which will later lead us to Volcano Manor. Now we're going to head back to the Altus Plateau Site of Grace for a few areas that are more easily accessible from here. There are many ways to do it, but however you see fit, make your way into the valley, and you're going to head all the way to the end of this valley. At the end of the valley, you're going to come across a castle that is kind of in a swamp area with poison water. You can avoid the poison water by riding on the horse. You need to jump over the wall that I jump over. It's the closest one to the Site of Grace. Grab that Site of Grace and rest before those guys come around to get you. Back to the Altus Plateau for one final ride. You're going to head north along the plateau, and it will eventually take you to the Lux Ruins. Drop down the back side of the Lux Ruins for a golden seed and a Site of Grace. Then climb the small hill along the cliffside to find another Site of Ruins. Head to the very western edge of the Wyndham Ruins, pretty much on ground level. You're going to go behind all those rocks, and you're going to find a very sneaky Site of Grace. You will also get a notification telling you that you have made it to Mount Gelmir. Good luck. That is everything to find in Altus Plateau, so to get started, this is a list of everything we need to do. We will find a legendary talisman, ash, weapon, sorcery, get some good equipment at Seathwater Cave, and then we need to make our way to Volcano Manor, so let's get to it. Starting from the Altus Plateau one final time, you're going to make your way into the valley however you see fit. In the valley, you're going to go to the very southern tip. You will find a cave in the rock that you can go through. Not really a cave, more like a tunnel. At the other end of that tunnel, you're going to find the Golden Lineage Evergaol, which you need to use one Stone Sword key on the imp statue to activate. Then you're going to head inside and do a pseudo boss fight. That boss fight is against an enemy who is called Godfrey the Grafted. It is an exact replica of a boss we've already fought already, Godric the Grafted in Stormveil Castle. So just take him down. The only difference is there's no phase 2. He doesn't end up using fire. He's just the basic melee attacks and other attacks from phase 1 of Godric. So take him down and you're going to get the legendary talisman called Godfrey's Icon. With Godfrey's Icon in hand, we're now going to make our way to the Sainted Hero's Grave. We're going to get that legendary ash. The Sainted Hero's Grave in double time, not that complicated. It's basically just introducing the aspect of using light to stun certain enemies. You'll see here this imp standing in the circle of light and it looks like a normal imp. But if you get one that's not normal, you have to get it into that light to stun it to be able to damage it. That's the basis. It's pretty simple when you actually think about what it is. You need to make it to the end of this dungeon. There's going to be a giant enemy who is going to be like that shaded version. You need to get him back to this room with this light in order to take him down. And that's the only way to progress through this dungeon. So I'll meet you back there once he is taken care of. Once he is taken care of, you are now free to make your way to the boss of this dungeon. The door will be open, so just make your way back there, and I'll meet you there. The Ancient Hero of Zamar, which is the boss of this dungeon, is pretty simple. It can cover long distance with its attacks, and it can use ice attacks, but if you get it in the right area, you can stun it. Only thing I would say is if you're going to use your ashes, make sure you walk into the arena before you summon them, because my ashes got stuck and were completely useless for the whole fight. Take down the Ancient Hero of Zamar, and you're going to get the Ancient Dragon Knife Kristoff Legendary Ashes. A mouthful again. This should be number 3 out of 6. We are now going to head to the Shaded Castle, which is at the end of the valley where you get access to it from the Altus Plateau Site of Grace. Basically, all you're doing here is avoiding getting poisoned and making your way to the boss arena. If you hug the right side wall, you can pretty much avoid all the poison. You won't really build enough up to cause any issues. You can make it all the way to the point where you need to climb this ladder to get out of the poison water. Turn left at the top of the ladder and jump onto the roof as soon as you get to the broken part of the wall. You are going to slow roll your way across the poison courtyard. You will very likely get poisoned, but that's okay. Climb the stairs across the courtyard and climb this ladder, and it's going to take you to safety away from the poison swamp. Grab the Site of Grace and rest the poison away. All clean. The path forward is fairly simple. You're going to run past several groups of enemies, including a few of the Clean Rot Knights that you may or may not have come across before. Ride the elevator up to the hallway that leads to the boss fight. Elmer of the Briar has around 4,800 health. There's only one phase, and he's weak to thrust type damage. Elmer can perform a shield bash, which closes a significant distance and can do a lot of damage. He can use his weapon at a very long range using magic. He basically swings it in an arc away from him. He can slam his shield down on the ground. And he can buff himself and his weapon with magic damage. Take him down to get the achievement titled Elmer of the Briar, and to get the Murray Executioner's Sword, which is the 4th of 9 legendary weapons. We're now going to head to the Siofra River Site of Grace, which is just behind the Wyndham Ruins. Heading north along the riverbed, you're going to come across a cave, which is going to need 2 stone sword keys to open. Inside this cave is going to be an extremely useful set of armor, which we can use later on to cross the Lake of Rot that we couldn't do earlier. Make your way through the cave until you get to the room that is full of these mushroom things and these guys that shoot poison at you. You're going to walk inside and pick up the mushroom set. It is the highest set for resistance to rot and poison together. so it's very useful for certain things. Back out of the cave, you're going to continue down the valley and you will come to a castle in the distance. Go around the southern edge of that castle and you will come to a lava pit that is going to have a magma worm mini boss come out of it. Continuing on, you will also pass a giant bear that can cause some troubles. And finally make your way to the craftsman's shack for a site of grace and a resting point. The village ahead is called the Hermit's Village, and there is a mini boss at the end of this village if you want to fight it, called the Demi-Human Queen. Past that mini boss on this rocky area is going to be a sorcerer that is more or less petrified. You can interact with it and it will open its hand and give you the Comet Azure legendary spell, which we're going to need to progress a quest line with Sorceress Selin, who we met a couple hours ago. That will be everything that we need from this side of Mount Gelmir, so you can grab the Site of Grace if you want and level up, and we're going to move on. Starting from the Bridge of Iniquity Site of Grace, you're going to follow the leftmost wall until you come to a very, very tall ladder that is settled up against the rocks. Turn to your left at the top of that ladder and you're going to find the first campsite of Mount Gelmir Site of Grace, which is probably the longest Site of Grace name in the whole game. You're going to go up the hill behind you, and you're going to go past the Mad Pumpkinhead, which used to be a mini-boss but is now just a regular enemy. You're going to cross the rocks that go over the gap. Once you cross the rocks, you're going to go and look for a ladder, and you will climb up 1, 2, 3 ladders, and turn left when you get to the top of the third ladder, and you're going to be looking for another small bridge. Cross that bridge for another Site of Grace, and then you can either climb the ladder, or you can do what I did, and you can Spirit Spring directly up to a world boss fight. If you fight and take down this Falling Star Beast, it actually drops a pretty useful weapon with a cool skill you can use on one of the late game bosses if you like. Either way, look for a path down, and you're going to be jumping from one rock to another. Then keep going down the hill that you land on to find a golden seed, and continue even further down the hill to pass a couple groups of those hand enemies that you found in Caria Manor. Near the bottom of the hill, you're going to find the map for Mount Gelmir, and an extra Site of Grace that keeps you near the Volcano Manor if for whatever reason you die between here and there. Back up the hill a little bit, you're going to see a giant guarding a door that we need to get into, that door of which leads into the Volcano Manor. Grab the Site of Grace that is located behind the table inside, and talk to the woman sitting in the chair, and she is going to ask you to join the Volcano Manor, and she will give you a drawing room key, which you will need. Take that key down the hall to open up the first door on your right, and roll through the wall that is next to the corpse. It is a fake wall and it hides a secret passage. The next few rooms are quite dark, so equip whatever torch you have to be able to see better. And run pretty much straight through each room. You don't really have to deviate if you don't want to. And you will come to a church with a Site of Grace on the other side of the altar from where you are. When you get outside, you're going to run along the rooftops next to the first lizard enemy that you find. You can fall down off the second roof, or you can jump onto the hexagonal roof and then drop down into the area below. Cross the bridge ahead to find a lizard and a closed door. Go to the left of the closed door and jump over the rail to go around the building. You can turn right once you get into the building to open up the door so you don't have to jump around the building again, or you can just turn left and continue on through the path. In the next room, the fastest way and the easiest way to avoid enemies is to just jump over the rail onto the lower set of stairs, and run through the next room where you can find a Site of Grace in a side room before you continue on. Head out the larger of the two doors in the other room to continue on, and drop down to the volcanic rock / lava area below. The lava here does hurt, but it doesn't really hurt that much, so if you end up stepping in it, it's not really that big of a deal, but you are going to jump from one lava rock section to another to make it to a set of stairs where you're going to go get on an elevator. There are 2 potential elevators to ride here, but only one appears at a time, so make sure you get on the elevator that is facing the northeastern direction on the compass. At the top, you're just going to run up the stairs into the next boss arena where you're going to fight the Godskin Noble. The Godskin Noble has around 10,000 health. There are 2 phases, and it is weak to slash damage as well as bleed and frostbite. The Noble has a plain rapier that it can use in phase 1 to do standard melee damage. It also has 2 black flame attacks that it can use against you. One is if you're at a distance, it will throw a black flame orb at you that will kind of stay there for a few seconds. And the other is if you are too close, it can summon a circle of black flame around it that again stays for a while. So just make sure you stay out of that area. Phase 2 starts at about 75% health. You will see the Godskin Noble cross its arms and raise in the air and then slam down. That is how you start Phase 2. Most of the time, Phase 2 will start where the Noble will inflate itself, basically like a balloon. It'll jump onto its side and then it will roll at you. You can stop this attack by getting behind a pillar. The Godskin Noble can get stuck behind a pillar. Or if you're lucky, you can get it going in a circle and just keep dodging around it. It can also inflate itself and do a butt slam attack that can get you from quite a distance, actually. The rapier attacks are also slightly different now. He has a couple new moves, one of which is a thrust attack that can do a good amount of damage through a shield. There is also now a rapier combo that has a lot of attacks that can do a lot of damage if you're not blocking or paying attention. Take it down and you will get the achievement titled Godskin Noble. Grab the Site of Grace in the church, and we're now going to make our way to the next shard bearer, who is going to be called Rykard. There is an elevator that was up. It is now down, so you need to ride it up to continue. Walk outside, and halfway around the semicircle outside the building, you can look down and see some lava pools. You need to jump on down there. Run past all the slugs that are on the bridge, being careful because they did knock me off at least once. Then jump down onto a lower platform to continue the climb up, and be careful because there you can fall off of every one of these pieces of land. Make the jump over the lava and look out because nearby there is a Virgin Abductor guarding the window that we need to jump into to continue through the path. Head outside and pass another lizard enemy with a flame weapon and head into the building where if you turn left you can open a shortcut back to the church, or you can continue on to the right. There are 2 lizard enemies on this path that you can kill or walk past, and you're looking to go into the building on the opposite end. In the next room, you are again looking to go to the opposite end where there is a door outside, but this time there are a lot of these lizard enemies standing in your way. You can run past them all, or you can try and take them all on. Either way, just make it to that door, and outside is going to be a wayport that will take you to the next boss arena. The area you spawn in leads directly and only to the boss fog, so get ready to fight Rykard, the Lord of Blasphemy. This is a 2-stage fight, with the first stage being called the God-Devouring Serpent. He has around 30,000 health. And the second phase is called Rykard, the Lord of Blasphemy, and he has around 50,000 health. There are 2 full health bars, and they are both weak to the Serpent Hunter's significant weapon. They are also weak to standard, slash, and thrust damage, as well as frostbite. The first time you enter the arena, there's going to be a little statue nearby holding a weapon. It is going to be called the Serpent Hunter, and I will go over that weapon now. The Serpent Hunter is the gimmick weapon for Elden Ring. It does not have any stat requirements, and it is super effective against just this boss. It has no other use, no other effect. It's not even a good weapon otherwise. So equip it, get ready, gonna fight this thing. Using that weapon's skill, you have several different types of attacks, so you can vary up how you fight this boss, but only the right bumper attack will stun the boss, so keep that in mind. The serpent has a handful of attacks, one of them being where it digs its head into the ground and then throws up a wave of earth, and it kills me every time it hits me, so watch out. It can spit poison at you that poisons you pretty quickly, and it can lunge at you for a grabbing attack. Taking the first boss's health bar all the way down to 0 is going to trigger the start for phase 2, and you will face a different boss. Rykard, the Lord of Blasphemy, is the name of the boss for phase 2. He is much more formidable and much larger, and he has this sword that he can use for some pretty basic combo attacks. When he raises his sword in the air and everything goes a little bit more red and you start seeing lava spewing out of the ground more often, pretty much all you need to do at this point is just run for your life, because he's going to be calling down skulls from the sky that are going to follow you, and after they either reach you or the ground, they will explode after a short delay, and they do a pretty good amount of damage, so just keep on the move. Those are pretty much the big attacks for this boss, so take him down and you're going to get the achievement titled Siofra River Rykard. That's going to be everything in the Volcano Manor, so we're going to take a quick trip back to Sorceress Selene in the Waypoint Ruins in pretty much central Limgrave. When you talk to Selene, choose the option to journey together. She's going to give you a seal breaker that you will use in the Celia Hideaway, which is found near the Church of the Plague in Caelid. We found it much earlier. It should be on your map. You should just be able to go there. As you move through the cave, you will come across a body with an item on it. The wall behind it is going to be an illusory wall. And the wall at the end of the next pathway is also going to be an illusory wall. In the giant crystal room, you're going to cross all the paths until you find this guy using a crystal to summon magic. Take him down. Then cross to the opposite end of the room to find a crystal heading downward with a snail on it. That's the one you're going to be looking for. Follow that crystal down into the bottom of the area and you're going to find a sorcerer protecting the seal. Take him down and break the seal to head inside and talk to another sorcerer like the one where you got the Comet Azor spell. This time you're going to get the Stars of Ruin Legendary Sorcery, number 4 of 7. The last set of things that we need to do before we can enter Leyndell, the royal capital, is we need to cross the Lake of Rot. So put on your mushroom set that we found earlier and head back to the Lake of Rot, and we're finally going to cross it. The end goal for the Lake of Rot is to the south and just west of the shore where you start, and you can see it from the shoreline, so there's a very clear visual of where you need to go. The Lake of Rot consists of a very large body of water that inflicts rot on you pretty quickly. That's why we put on the mushroom set, and the smaller platforms with buttons that will raise these larger platforms out of the lake. You're just going to cross from one platform to the next, letting your rot die down between each platform unless you want to get infected with rot. It's up to you. But the goal is to just get from one side to the other. When you make it across, you're going to find a site of grace at the bottom of the set of stairs, and you're going to enter an area called the Grand Cloister. Go down the stairs, and you're going to make your way down the wall in front of you, kind of like a little parkour section. At the bottom, there are going to be several kindred of rot enemies, so cross the little stream before they have any chance to see you. You're going to round the corner, and you will find a coffin sitting on the edge of a waterfall, and I think you know what to do at this point. The coffin is going to take you to the path just before the next arena for the next major boss in the game, which is called Astel, Natural Born of the Void. Astel has around 11,000 health. There are 2 phases, and he's weak to all types of physical damage. You will start the battle across the arena from Astel, and its first attack will be a gravity attack, just like Radahn. He'll shoot a fast-moving fireball at you, and it will do a lot of damage. As you close in, it's going to use its tail to attack twice, once at a slightly further range, and then the second attack is at a closer range, about where you would be if you were running towards it. It can swap you with its hands to make clouds appear that will explode after a short delay, and there are several different versions of this attack, and each one has the same effect. If you are too close, it can do this attack where it will pick up, rocks and stuff from the ground and then slam them back down all around it. Lastly, for phase 1, it can teleport away and reappear pretty quickly and come at you for a grappling attack. At around 50% health, it will teleport away, and when it reappears, it will start to do a meteor type attack. If you get hit by one of these, you're pretty much stun locked into death, so dodging them is critical at this point. Take it down to earn the achievement Astel, Natural Born of the Void, and then you will have to make a slight detour. On the opposite end of the arena from where you came in, there's going to be a tall blue wall that you can't get past, so grab the Site of Grace and we're going to teleport elsewhere. You need to go to the Rai Lucaria Grand Library, which is where you fought Rennala, and we're going to use that key we got earlier from the Baleful Shadow, much earlier. We're going to open up a chest in that room. The chest is to your left when you spawn in. You can open it with that key, and it's going to give you the Dark Moon Ring. Now head back to the arena where we fought Astel, and the big tall wall is just going to be gone. So ride the elevator up, and you will come to a new area. Grab the Site of Grace at the base of the hill, and welcome to the Moonlight Altar. Go up the hill, past the Glintstone Dragon, and enter the Cathedral of Manus Celeste. Next to the altar on the opposite end of the cathedral is going to be a hole in the ground. At the end of this path, you're going to find the doll that Ronnie has been inhabiting, and you're going to put the ring on its finger. A cutscene is going to play where you actually put the ring on the finger, like physically put it on there. After the cutscene is over, the real Ronnie will appear, and you can talk to her, and it will officially unlock one of the endings for the game. And where the doll was sitting, you can pick up the Dark Moon Greatsword, which is a legendary weapon. We are now going to head to the Ringleader's Evergaol, which is in the most northwestern point of this section. When you go inside, the enemy you're going to fight is going to be named Electo, the Black Knife Ringleader, It is like any other Black Knife Assassin you have fought so far. If you haven't, this is going to be a little bit more tough for you, but if you have, then there is no difference whatsoever. Take down Electo, and you're going to get the Black Knight Tish, Legendary Spirit Ash number 506. Now make your way to the southernmost point of this island, and you're going to find the altar south side of Grace, just outside of a tower with a locked door, like one of the spell doors. You need to interact with the imp statue in front of the tower to get this part of the quest going. It tells you to seek out 3 beasts, the first of which is just to the west of you. It is hanging out over on the edge of the cliff. You got to peek out and hit it from where you are. The second turtle is far to the east, just south of the Lunar Estate ruins. If you look down onto the lower platform, you'll find it hanging out with a couple other regular turtles. The last turtle is all the way up north by the Ringleader's Evergale that we were just at, so make the trek all the way there. You can't teleport or it'll reset the progress. In the gathering of trees just south of the Evergale, there's going to be a spirit spring that allows you to jump up and hit the underside of the turtle just with your body. After you get all 3, you can teleport back to the altar south side of Grace. Climb to the very top and you're going to open a chest to find the legendary sorcery called Ranni's Dark Moon. That is officially everything to collect before you enter Leyndell capital. You have fully completed the beginning of the game. Now time to move on to the middle of the game and travel to the Windmill Village just outside of Leyndell capital. Head east towards Leyndell capital, making sure that you avoid all the projectiles coming from the ballista that are along the road into the capital. And grab the side of Grace that you find when you get into the capital outskirts area. Down the hill to your right is going to be a golden tree with 2 seeds at its base. And if you continue going south from the first tree, you will find a second tree with 2 more golden seeds and a side of Grace that you can pick up, as well as the map for the entirety of Leyndell. If you go east from that side of Grace, you will find a little crevasse that you can go into. In the very corner of that crevasse, you're going to be able to find another tunnel where you're going to find the Smithing Stone Miner's Bell Bearing number 2. Roll through the first illusory wall, and then you're going to look for a chest on a little side path, and it's going to hold that Miner's Bell Bearing number 2. Smithing Stones 3 and 4 will now be available to buy from the Twin Main Husks for 600 and 900 runes respectively. Go back to the set of Grace just inside of the capital outskirts area, and you're going to head to the wall on the very eastern edge for a staircase that's pretty well hidden in the wall. In this upper area, you're going to be dodging some arrows from these giants, and you're just going to make your way across this area past where the giants are. When you make it across, you're going to come upon a guy on a horse guarding the entrance to the Leyndell capital. This is going to be the Draconic Tree Sentinel. There are 2 phases to this fight, and phase 2 does see the Draconic Tree Sentinel using lightning attacks, so it becomes a good bit harder from that point on. Defeat the Tree Sentinel and you will finally have access to Leyndell, the capital city. You need to have already defeated 2 of the Shard Bearers and gone to the Round Table Hold to be able to enter. From the entrance of Leyndell, we're going to make our way directly to another area, which is going to be down a well, so that's interesting. But I will guide you to that point, and then we'll go through the well from there, and then come back to Leyndell again. You're going to ride the elevator up, and you're going to continue on the path until you come fully outside where you can see the full city in front of you, and nearby there will be some enemies that are going to blow, essentially, bubbles out of their horns. When you get to the bubble blowing boys, you're going to jump over this railing on the opposite end, and then jump onto the rooftops so you can avoid pretty much most of this area. Then you're going to follow along the rooftops until you get to what is basically the center aisle of this whole area. Run into the little area that has a fountain and enter the door on your left. Ride down the elevator that should be up the first time you come through, and run through this little grave site-ish area into the next room where you're going to take the ladder up on your left almost immediately, or else you will get stunned by these enemies and you may end up dying. At the top of the ladder, you're going to run through the door and then go up the stairs to find a site of grace, which is going to act as our central point for Leyndell. From this site of grace, you're going to head downstairs and go outside, and then jump over the rail on the left side to go to a lower area. On the northern side of the area you are in, you're going to find a well that you need to jump into. Open up the door nearby, and you can run straight through this area until you come to a wooden door that opens up to a larger section of the sewers. Down the ladder and to the left, you're going to find the Site of Grace, which is going to act as our hub for the Subterranean Shunning-Grounds. From the Site of Grace, you're going to run to the opposite side of the sewers from where you came in. You're going to fall down into the hole in the grate. Run northwest and enter the large sewer hole in the wall on your right. And make sure you jump over the 2 holes in the floor, which are signaled by slimes hanging from the ceiling, and one of them falls down into the hole. Continue running through this section, avoiding the slimes as best you can, and you will come out to a room with a very fat boy that tries to jump down and squash you. Climb the ladder and look to your right where you can find a door that needs to be opened that leads back to the main hall and the Site of Grace. Continue on through the door and look to your left to fall down onto a lower level. From there, you're going to follow the path for quite a while until you come to a set of stairs going down where you need to do a 180 to go through a hidden door. Follow this path past 2 separated basilisks, and you'll come to another large room with another one of those big guys and a ladder that you need to climb. If you run straight for the ladder, he will shoot some attacks at you, but if your stamina and health are high enough, you should be fine to make it to the top. Otherwise, you might get knocked off and die. At the top, go through the door and run directly across to open another door, which leads directly back to the Site of Grace just across the hall. Get onto the pipe that is going up instead of down and has a small platform on it. Run to where it starts going up again and then jump onto the pipes below you. Go around the pipe and jump onto the platform in front of you, making sure that you dodge the little imp thing that is going to come out of the door charging at you. The pipe in front of you is going to have an opening on the top that you need to jump into, and continue forward in the pipe the direction that you land until you see a rat that is going to run away from you. Turn left at the first bend and enter the other piece of pipe. Run past the rat and he will fall into the next section of pipe instead of jumping over it. Follow this section of pipe to its end and you will find a ladder. That ladder will take you to a room with a couple of those small pot enemies and 1 large pot enemy. You need to attack any of the pots to get the large pot to get up and bring the elevator back up. He's basically sitting on a button. Get on the elevator for a very, very long ride down, and grab the Site of Grace at the bottom so you never have to run through that again. Walk down the stairs ahead and get ready to fight your next boss, who is called Mohg the Omen. Mohg has about 13,600 health. There's only 1 phase to the fight, and he's weak to all types of physical damage. You will start the fight across the arena for Mohg, and if you keep your distance, he can throw blood either in an arc in front of him or in a line directly towards the player. He has his trusty trident that he uses. It has a very long range, so even if you think you're out of range, you can still get hit. And at the end of each combo, he can throw more blood at you. He can swipe his claws in the air and cause an explosion on a very small arc in front of him. And if you stay too close, he can reach up and pull blood down, and it rains for a while. Take him down to earn the achievement titled Mohg the Omen. Grab the Site of Grace in his arena, and you're going to attack the altar that sits behind the chest in the room. This is going to lead you to be able to access one of the other endings of the game, but we're not actually going to access it until much later on. You need to make your way to the 3rd beam, and you can either jump down, as you're seeing here, or you can run along the normal path and end up down here. The first coffin you're going to jump on is the one in the northeastern corner, right next to the ledge. Then look to the north, and you should see a coffin sticking out of the wall that you can roll onto. The next coffin is back to the east, and I recommend you do an R2 attack as you fall to bounce off the wall and stay safe. The final coffin is just below you with a body on it, and then you can simply run down the rest of the way and fall down into the pit below. Grab the Site of Grace here, and whatever you do, do not interact with the door that is ahead of you. It will lock you out of a different ending for the game. This is the very last thing that we will do once we've finished the game. You'll come back here, open the door, and then get the final ending. So whatever you do, don't mess with it. We're going to head back to the last Site of Grace we picked up in Leyndell now to continue on to the next boss area. Go outside into the opposite end of this raised courtyard, and you're going to climb onto the dragon wing that is like hanging out over the ledge. It's a little bit easier if you go behind the wing instead of in front of it, so you can guide the enemies to kind of follow you around so they're not directly in your path trying to get onto the wing. Climb to the top of the wing and drop off into the building. Follow the path to find a Site of Grace just before you head outside. Cross through the courtyard ahead. There's going to be a giant gargoyle the first time you come through here that you can take down if you like. You're going to climb up the giant root that is resting on this platform, and at the top you're going to find a fog wall for the next boss, which is called Godfrey the First Elden Lord. Godfrey has around 7,000 health, there's only one phase, and he does not have any weaknesses. He wields a great axe that he can do combos with, just like every other boss in the game. He can stomp the ground and send a shockwave towards you that you need to jump over. And he can jump up and throw his axe at you, which he will then follow behind and do another attack after he lands. Take him down and you will get the achievement titled Godfrey the First Lord. Grab the Site of Grace and we're going to head out the western door. Take the elevator down and go down the 2 flights of stairs and about halfway across the balcony. Look down and you'll see a giant weapon that is sticking out of the wall. You're going to go ahead and jump right onto that. Climb carefully to the top because it's easy to fall off. Pick up the item in front of you and you're going to get the Bolt of Grandsack's legendary armament. With that legendary weapon collected, you're going to go back to the Site of Grace where you fought Godfrey and go out the eastern door this time. Climb up the route that goes back into the building and turn right to go back outside of the building after you've just gone back in the building. There's going to be a Black Knife Assassin here that is waiting for you at the next doorway. And inside the building is going to be another Site of Grace and a pretty powerful incantation if you want to pick it up. And just as quickly as we left one boss fight, we're going to walk up to another one up the stairs. You'll find an arena where you can find Morgott the Omen King. You can just walk in the first time and you'll have a cutscene that plays. Morgott has around 10,500 health. There are 2 phases and he's weak to slash type damage. You will start the battle across the arena from Morgott, and he's likely to use his javelin attack where he throws it, which can also be followed up by a downward stab into the ground. He can also use that javelin to charge at you from a pretty significant distance. At around 75% health, he's going to whip out his great hammer just like Market did. He can raise up his arm and summon a bunch of light daggers that will come down in a circle around him and then in a cross pattern from where he is standing. And at 50% health, he's going to buff himself up for Phase 2, but there really aren't any changes in Phase 2, so just fight him like the rest of Phase 1, he's just a little bit tougher. Take him down to earn the achievement titled Shardbearer Morgott. Go up the stairs past the throne to interact with a door that has a bunch of barbs on it that you cannot enter at this point. Then go back to the Site of Grace in the arena and rest at it to talk to Melina, where she is going to give you the whole piece of the rolled medallion that we can use for another lift that is outside of Leyndell. We're now going to make our way to the bridge where the Erdtree Avatar comes in and you can fight it. It's just outside of the East Capital Rampart Site of Grace down on the very bottom. If you head east down that main path, you're going to come to a set of double doors, very large doors that are going to be shut. You can open them and head through. There are a couple groups of enemies along this path, but you can pretty much ignore them all the way to the end, where you're going to find a large wooden elevator that you need to ride up. At the top, you're just going to cross the bridge. There are 2 enemies guarding it and 1 enemy on horseback on the bridge, but you can ignore everybody here. And take the other elevator down to come to a new area. You'll come out to a snary area called the Forbidden Lands, and we're just going to make a beeline straight through this area, no stops. There's only one path to follow, so just head the only way you can, but be careful because it's very foggy and it's easy to fall off without realizing where you are. There is a small jump onto a piece of land with a tree on it. You can get stuck on the tree pretty easily, so be careful not to run the wrong way or get caught there and die. There is 1 golden seed that you can pick up along the way on the right side. And just before the staircase leading to the next part of the zone, there is a mini-boss that you can fight or ignore. There is a Site of Grace at the top of the stairs that you can pick up if you like. And activate the Grand Lift of Rolled with the medallion that Melina gave you, and you will enter the Mountaintop of the Giants. Heading straight out from the Grand Lift, you're going to run into the map for this area along the right side of the road. And your first Site of Grace is going to be along the cliffside on the left. The ruins ahead of you are called the Zamor Ruins, and we're going to head into them to pick up another Smithing Stone Miner's Bell Bearing. You're going to head all the way to the back of the ruins, past all these groups of enemies, to the very southwest portion where you'll find the cellar behind another piece of building. In the chest in the cellar, you're going to pick up the Smithing Stone Miner's Bell Bearing number 3. That's going to be 3 of 4 that we need to collect to make it easier to get the Godslayer Armament achievement. You can now buy Smithing Stones 5 and 6 for 1,200 and 1,500 runes respectively from the Twin Main Husks in the Round Table Hold. Now we're going to head back through the ruins just to make it a little bit easier visually where we need to go. If you don't want to go through the ruins, you can just go to the northeast. You're going to round the corner at the top of this hill next to the statue that tells you where some of those catacombs are. And you're basically just going to follow the mountain around until you can't go up anymore. You'll start going down, and you'll see a long skinny stretch of land in front of you that you need to cross. As you get about halfway across this stretch of land, there's a giant on the other side that's going to start shooting at you, but he has terrible accuracy, so there's not really anything you need to worry about. When you get to the other side, you're going to continue up the hill and over a piece of rubble that spans a small gap, where you'll find the next set of grace on the left, behind kind of like a pillar for the very tall bridge next to you. Head down into the dry riverbed where the giant roams, and you're going to take a left, where you will find a shack on the right at the end of this path and a cliffside on the left. We want to go to that cliffside on the left, follow around. You're going to find a spirit spring that's going to allow you to skip portions of this area. It'll take you right up on top of the cliff. Get up the small hill here, however you see fit, then cross the bridge next to you to continue on. A giant skeleton will pop up and try and attack you, but you can ignore it and just go right down the hill straight in front of you. And go down one more level when you get to where the mini-boss appears, and then follow this path all the way to its end. This path all the way to its end is going to bring you to Castle Sol. The path through Castle Sol can be a little bit longer if you want to explore the entire castle, or you can jump over a railing that is found pretty quickly after you enter the castle and you can skip pretty much the entire thing. Either way, turn left when you get into the castle, climb the stairs, and you're going to turn it left into the first room you find, go past a couple slugs, and climb that ladder. At the top of that ladder is where we're going to find the skip that we can do. There will be a pile of sandbags next to a low wall that you can jump on, and then you can jump right over that wall and skip, pretty much the entire castle. If you do skip the castle, when you get down at the bottom, you're going to turn to the left and enter the door that's in front of you. Go through this room and you'll come out to another outside area where there's going to be a couple spirits or ghosts that spawn in to attack you. You can run past all the enemies into the building in front of you, where you can turn left into the first room and find the last set of grace for Castle Sol, or I guess the only one, but it's going to be the last set of grace that you get before you enter a boss area. The room in front of you is going to be a church, I guess, and at the end of that church is going to be an altar. Resting on the altar is going to be the Eclipsed Sheltel. It is a legendary armament, should be number 7 of 9. Now from the set of grace, we're just going to head out the door next to where we picked up the Eclipsed Sheltel. Run through that area. There will be a couple spirits or ghosts or whatever you want to call them that spawn in. You can just ignore them and run past. You can activate a shortcut outside if you like, where you can come back from the set of grace outside Castle Sol. If not, then you can just run right past, come up to a boss fog where we're going to fight Niall the Commander. Commander Niall has about 15,500 health. There are 2 phases, and he has no weaknesses. Niall will always start the fight out by summoning 2 of his own ashes, so you might as well go ahead and summon yours right at the fight as well. I recommend taking out the ash that starts on his left. It is the one that is more dangerous. It has 2 swords, and it's very fast, very strong. Take it out first. If you don't take them out fast enough, or you are unlucky, you can have Niall buff them so they deal more damage and have more defense against your attacks. Make sure you take them both out before you even think about fighting Niall, otherwise it is pretty much suicide. Phase 1 for Niall is pretty much slow but strong, and he can cover a pretty significant distance by charging at you with his spear, staff, whatever you want to call it. When he swirls his weapon around him and you see him get struck by lightning, that signals the beginning of Phase 2, where he gets much more aggressive and faster. Make sure you keep your distance if you're using magic, and pick when you do your attacks, because he will follow all of his attacks with a jab attack. His 2 big attacks in Phase 2 are the one you already saw, where he jumps up and tries to slam his leg down on you, and this one where he charges at you quickly with his spear and tries to swipe at you. Take him down to earn the achievement titled Commander Niall, and we are now going to get the second half of the secret Haligtree medallion. Go through his arena and you're going to take the elevator up, where you will find the second half of the secret Haligtree medallion just laying on the ground. The first half of it we found much earlier in the village of the Albinorics in Liurnia of the Lakes, so if you don't happen to have it, that's where it's going to be. Now we're going to head back to the riverbed where the giant was patrolling after you got into the Mountaintop of the Giants area, and this time instead of turning left, you're going to turn right. If you follow the right wall as you go through the valley, you can see a giant patrolling. Just past that giant is going to be a golden seed, if you want to go pick that up. If you follow the left wall through the valley, you will come to the Freezing Lake site of grace. We're going to need to grab that because we will teleport back here pretty soon after we get one of the legendary spells. Follow the left wall and then do a 180 to climb up the hill this time, where you're going to be looking for a broken bridge on the left side that is going to span the gap over the dried up riverbed. If you walk directly towards the building in front of you, you are going to walk on an invisible bridge. There are no tells for this area, so just trust me, you won't fall off if you just walk straight towards that building. About halfway, you will see a group of blue spots on the ground. You need to look very carefully because they blend in with everything else. This is where you're going to turn to the left if you're facing the building, and you're going to go in an arc up towards the building. It's kind of like a semicircle, and you can use the blue spots on the ground to guide you to where you need to go. FromSoftware is very well known for this. They do this in every game. You should know this trick by now. Once you get into that building, you're going to open the building from the inside, so you don't need to cross that bridge again. There will be a couple enemies inside that you need to take care of. Nothing crazy. Once you're inside, climb to the top to find the Founding Rain of Stars legendary spell. This is the very last spell that you need to find. And that is going to net you the achievement titled Legendary Sorceries and Incantations, probably the longest achievement title I have ever seen. With that final spell in hand and a brand new achievement, you're going to go back to the Freezing Lake Site of Grace, and instead of going left this time, you're going to go right and follow the wall to avoid a mini-boss in the lake unless you want to fight it and die a few times. You can stop at the first church of Marika on the way for a Site of Grace and a Sacred Tear, then head out of the church and go up the hill, past a few random dogs that seem out of place here, and ride right past the garrison on the left side to cross a giant chain that's going to take you to the final section of the Mountaintop of the Giants, where you will find a Site of Grace and the map for this area to your left as soon as you get off the chain. Head south directly through this area where you will come across the Church of Repose, where you will be invaded by the Bloody Finger Okina. He's going to drop a weapon that we will need for one of the bosses later. It was the only way I could beat that boss, so go ahead and take him down now. When he is defeated, he will drop the Rivers of Blood Katana. You can grab the Site of Grace and rest after a hard-fought victory. Go directly out the southern exit of the Church of Repose and around the mountain, and you will find a Spirit Spring. That spring will take you to the top of the giant skull where you can pick up an item, and then you need to make your way down to the very base of the skull so that you can enter its mouth. When you get into its mouth, you're going to find your first Ancient Dragon Smithing Stone, which will let you upgrade standard weapons to the final level. From the giant skull, you're going to follow along the northern ridge, and you will find two entrances to this boss fight and a Site of Grace nearby. We're going to grab the Site of Grace and ignore the boss fight for now because it will take us to the end game, and we don't want to go there yet. Instead, we're going to go to the Grand Lift of Rold again with both halves of our secret Haligtree medallion, and we're going to activate it this time a different way. When you get there, instead of hoisting the medallion, you're going to choose the other option to hoist the secret medallion. That is going to take you to a small catacomb called the Hidden Path to the Haligtree. Turn left to take the stairs all the way to the top, past all the enemies, including a giant land squid that falls from the ceiling, to find the real entrance to this catacomb and a Site of Grace, and exit out into the Consecrated Snowfield. It's basically an area that's covered with a blizzard, so it's very difficult to see. There will be candles down around on the ground for you to follow that are supposed to take you to where you need to go, but you can head directly north to find the first Site of Grace in this area. From there you can continue north down a few ledges, and you will eventually come across the second Site of Grace in this area. Cross the riverbed to the north and look near this giant tree, and you will find the map for this area. It's just off to the left of being directly to our north. Now we're going to follow the riverbed to the east to find a catacomb where we're going to get another legendary weapon. It will be blocked by a giant land squid, and you will need a stone sword key to get in. Make your way in, and you will have found the Cave of the Forlorn, where we need to find the boss at the end to get that legendary weapon. Go straight through the room ahead, and you will come to another room that has these raised platforms that you can climb up onto. There is an alcove on the left with one of those raised platforms right in the center that you need to go into and climb up on. Then make the jump where the flower is to the opposite wall. Head in carefully because you can fall to your death, and make your way past all the angry jellyfish, and find a hole in the ground where you again need to be careful because you can fall to your death here as well. At the bottom you will find a fog wall that is going to be hiding a misbegotten crusader. If you've been following along, you've fought two of these already. It's no different from any other misbegotten, except it is holding a legendary weapon, and it can infuse that weapon with holy damage and cause a sort of AoE explosion, where if you're too close, that can, do significant damage to you. But this fight is no different from any other crusader, so just take it out however you see fit. And it will drop the Golden Order Greatsword, legendary armament number 8 of 9. Exit the riverbed the way that you came in, over by the inner Consecrated Snowfield Site of Grace and where you found the map, and head north up the hill, where you will find an abandoned town called Ordina Liturgical Town. Head to the very western edge of the Consecrated Snowfield, just beneath what looks like a log on the map, where you will find a wayport that is covered in blood. It is tucked away pretty much on the edge of the cliff. You need to go through it. It's going to take you to the Mohgwyn Palace area, where we're going to fight Mohg, the Lord of Blood. Head out of the cave when you spawn in to actually enter the area called Mohgwyn Palace, and make your way down the cliffside to come to the first set of grace for this area. This area you're heading into is full of large enemies that deal a lot of damage at one time, so we're just going to follow the right side wall, not to bother going in any of the caves or any of that. If you just follow the right side wall, it's going to take you all the way around the area, but you can avoid all the enemies and an invasion. You can make it safely to the Mohgwyn Dynasty area, where we can continue on to go to the next boss. I don't pick it up here, but the map is in this area as soon as you enter the Dynasty Mausoleum. I think it's on the right side, so don't forget it. Follow the only path forward, and you need to make sure that you avoid these enemies ahead because they will explode and they deal bleed damage just by being around you. When you get to the giant blood slug, as disgusting as that sounds, you can jump around the little gravestones on the left side, or you can jump between it and the wall on the right side to get past. Put on the lantern when you get inside the building so that everybody can see. The path will split in two. Go up the left side first, and then when the path splits again, go up the right side to enter a large open room. Follow along the left side of this room to find a small set of stairs that you need to take up, and you'll be able to see the door out in the distance. There is a great ghost glovewort in a pit to the right near some walking corpses. You can go grab that if you want to upgrade one of your special spirit ashes all the way. And make your way outside to grab the last side of grace before we go and fight the next major boss. The large group of enemies on your left are guarding a chest that contains a somber ancient smithing stone if you want to collect one of those and upgrade one of your special weapons all the way to +10. Or you can take the elevator up where we're going to fight the next major boss, who is titled Mohg, the Lord of Blood. It is just another version of Mohg, the omen that we fought earlier in the sewers in Leyndell. Mohg has around 18,000 health, but he will heal a quarter of his health partway through the fight, so he actually has around 23,000 health. There are 2 phases, and he's weak to bleed, all physical types of damage, and gravity-based magic. Phase 1 is almost identical to the original Mohg fight, one difference being that all of his blood attacks now leave a trail of fire that will stay there for a while. And at certain health increments for the boss's health bar, he's going to call down these rings that go around you. He will call down 3 of them before he gets to half health. And then once he gets to that point, he's going to do his signature move for this fight. He is going to basically inflict instant bleed on you 3 times, so what I suggest doing is heal after the second time that he inflicts it, because if you don't, it will kill you from full health because of how bleed works in the game. So between the second and third bleeds, I recommend you heal. And this time he's also going to heal 25% of his health, so make sure you keep note of that. He is also going to sprout wings in between phases 1 and 2, so the battle is going to change pretty significantly from here on. He is now significantly more aggressive. His attacks have a much longer range because of the wings, and every attack now leaves a trail of fire or a fire spot instead of just his blood-based attacks in phase 1. You can still stun him in this phase, so take advantage of that by either getting a critical or healing while you have the chance. When you beat him, you'll get the achievement titled Shardbearer Mohg, and you'll be done with this area. Now we're going to head back to Ordina, and we have a little puzzle to solve. In the back of that town is going to be an Evergaol and a Imp statue. You need to interact with the Imp statue to activate the Evergaol, then head inside the Evergaol to start solving this town's puzzle. Go to the building in the westernmost point of this town, and you're going to climb the ladder that you can find in the back. At the very top of this building, you're going to find the first torch that you need to light. This will be number 1 of 4, and then we're going to continue from this point on for the next torch. Head east from the first torch, pretty much down the center of the town, and you will come to these steps and this rail that you can jump on. This is a shortcut to the second torch. If for whatever reason you can't make the jump, then you need to circle around the building and come back through the other side. It's a little bit longer, but gets you to the same point. At the very top is going to be the second torch you need to light, and we'll continue from here for the third torch. Drop down onto the building below that has a small bridge that gaps between the 2 buildings. And you'll have to jump onto the next building because there's no easy way from here to get up to that area. Masterfully dodge all of the arrows that are being shot at you, and they can kill you in 1 or 2 volleys, so this is probably the hardest part of getting these torches lit. Climb to the top of the ladder where the 1 archer is directly in front of you, and you can light the third of 4 torches. And the final torch is in the center of town, just up from the main staircase that leads into the town. It is in a small broken down gazebo, being guarded by an enemy that you cannot see. Now you just need to run up the really tall staircase in the back of the town, and it's going to take you to a wayport that will take you to a new area. That new area is called Miquella's Haligtree, and there is a site of grace right in front of you when you start, so make sure that you grab it so you don't have to go back through Ordina. You're going to make your way down this tree to a large central root that goes back into the bulk of the tree. Then you're going to make your way to the base of the tree, avoiding the giant bubble blower on the branch above you. Climb down the ladder, where you will find your second set of grace, and from here it's just to run straight to the next boss arena. Run down all the steps into the building ahead, where you need to jump out of the opposite end so that you don't fall down to a lower platform where there are some larger enemies waiting for you. Run straight through the next few rooms, passing a misbegotten crusader on your right that is resting, to find your third set of grace in a small plaza where you can rest to, respawn the enemies back where they normally go. Jump down onto the roof ahead, and run past the snail that is on the next roof because it can summon some crystal bosses that can take you out or stop you in your tracks. Keep jumping from rooftop to rooftop until you can jump down and enter a building, where you will turn left instead of continue straight, because if you continue straight you'll walk right off the edge. When you cross the bridge, you can jump over to the left side onto the lower platform. This is where you will find an elevator that takes you back to the second set of grace that we passed. And all that's left after that is to run past the enemies and make your way to the next boss arena, where we're going to fight Loretta, the Knight of the Haligtree. It is the real version of Loretta, the Knight from the Caria Manor. Loretta has around 13,300 health. There are 1.5 phases, sort of, and she has no weaknesses. This fight is exactly like the Caria Manor fight. The only difference is that her attacks are larger, and when she goes to half health, she's going to whip out 4 arrows instead of 1 for her special attack. Take her out to earn the achievement titled Loretta, Knight of the Haligtree, and we'll be done with this area just as soon as we got into it. Exit out the back of her arena and take the stairs all the way down to a ladder. At the base of the ladder, instead of going inside immediately, you're going to take the stairs that go around the building to find a chest. That chest is going to give you your first Ancient Dragon Smithing Stone. If you have a weapon at plus 24, you can now upgrade it to plus 25, and you will get an achievement, but I will save that for later when we get the final Smithing Stone Bell Bearing. So just know that you can use it now or you can use it later, but you'll get the achievement when you get a weapon all the way up to plus 25. Go back down the stairs and go inside this time to take an elevator that goes down. Go outside and cross the bridge past a clean route night, where you can find the prayer room site of grace. You're going to run straight down the walkways ahead of us. It's kind of like a balcony area with a lot of small enemies around. You can just run past pretty much everybody. You're going to run to the very end of the first section where you see these white egg things on the wall. I don't really know what else to call them, but that's where you're going to stop. You're going to jump over the rail here onto a walkway down, and then down onto the lower area that has a gazebo. There's a room on your left that has a Clean Rot Knight that is guarding a chest. That chest contains the Clean Rot Knight Finley Ashes, which is the last legendary ash that we need to get, number 606. And that is going to net us the achievement, which is simply titled Legendary Ashes. From there, you're going to hop down and continue running across this path, where at the end you'll be able to drop down. It's pretty high distance, but as long as you're not injured, you will survive the fall. Climb the ladder that is across the courtyard from you, and if you're not fast enough, some enemies will spawn in and try and take you out. Then run into the building past the Erdtree avatar to grab a site of grace that we can use as a central point for the next 2 areas that we need to go to. From here, go back outside past the Erdtree avatar again and back into the hole that we just climbed out of. But this time you're going to go through the archway in front of you, and you're going to book it straight to the opposite end of this area. All the way, no stops, just make it to the other end. At the opposite end, you're going to find an imp statue that requires 1 stone sword key. That fog door is going to open to a chest that contains the Marika's Sword Seal Legendary Talisman. With all that collected, go back to the site of grace past the Erdtree avatar to continue through this area. At this point, I'm going to recommend putting back on the mushroom set, like you see that I've got on. We're about to go back into a small little lake of rot area that this is going to be very useful for. Head up the route that is inside the building. It's going to take you outside, and in the distance you will see that lake of rot we were just talking about. So I'm not messing with you. It's there. If you wear the full mushroom set and run from one side to the other without stopping, you won't even be inflicted with rot. I don't think it even goes halfway, so that's why I recommend putting that on for this part of the trip. Carefully make your way across the roots because you can fall off. Go into the building and climb or roll down the ladder. Then run down this sewer-like area to find your next set of grace, and you can officially switch back to your regular armor if you want to. Head outside and follow the first route all the way around the building until it comes to an end, and you can drop down onto a lower platform. Drop down onto the next route that spans from the platform you're on to the next platform on the left side. Then jump onto that platform and make your way back up to the top, where you can get onto another route that's going to take you onto the roof of the next building. On the next roof, you're going to fall into the hole that if you are facing it, your compass will say you are facing northeast. Once you are inside, take out as many of the Kindred of Rot as you can. Then fall down onto the platform where the chest is. Then open it to find the Dragoncrest Great Shield Legendary Talisman. From there, you're going to drop all the way down to the bottom, whether on purpose or on accident. Then run to the north, where you're going to find an elevator that's going to take you way, way down into the depths. At the bottom, you can find the last site of grace for this area, and you can get prepared to fight the most difficult boss in this game by far. You know her, you love her, it's Liurnia, the Blade of Miquella. She has around 18,500 health, she has 2 full distinct phases, and she's weak to fire, frostbite, and the bleed effect. As I've already said, Liurnia is the most difficult boss in this game, so if you have any tactics that you would consider cheese that you wouldn't normally use, now is the time to use them. And that includes respeccing your skills so that you are able to take this boss down. She steals health with every hit, she is just a beast, and there's really no other way around it than to just change pretty much how you played the game so far, because Liurnia does not care. She will take you out without even thinking about it. To be honest, I died to her probably 50 or 60 times. That's the most I've died to any boss in this game at all, so I understand your frustration. If you want to live the way that I lived and beat her with only a few tries with your new setup, you're going to go back to Rennala in the Lucaria Academy, and you're going to use your larval tears to respec your attribute. You need at least 12 strength, 18 dexterity, and 20 arcane to use the Rivers of Blood katana, which is, in my opinion, the best katana for this situation because of its weapon art. Upgrade your dexterity as high as you want from that because it does have the best scaling with dexterity out of the 3 stats. These are the talismans I used. I used the Green Turtle Talisman to increase my stamina regeneration. I used the Arsenal Charm to increase my equipment load. I used the Dragoncrest Great Shield Talisman, which we just picked up, which boosts physical negation. And I used the Kindred of Rot's Exaltation, which increases attack when near rot. So those were useful. The biggest suggestion I can have for this fight is to just practice it over and over and over. Her lifesteal is going to be a pain in the ass. There's no way around it. The only thing you can do is learn her moves, how to dodge them, and take advantage of the times when she is out of a move, or like after she's used a move, or if she gets stunned like she does here. The Rivers of Blood is very useful with its weapon art because 1, it stuns her on pretty much every hit, and 2, it only takes 2 or 3 activations of the weapon art to cause that bleed effect to pile up. And it does do a lot of damage very quickly because of how the bleed works in this game. Her most dangerous attack to look out for, which I'm sure you already know, is the Waterfowl Dance. She will jump up in the air and pause there for a second, and then she's going to unleash a very long flurry of attacks that are very difficult to dodge. The easiest way to do it is to dodge towards her when she comes at you. If you get lucky, you can dodge all of those attacks, and it'll be a miracle. And that's all I can say for that move, really. Her second phase starts with this Aeonia Flower attack, where she slams down, and after a few seconds she explodes in like a Scarlet Rot, which is why we have on the Kindred of Rot's Exaltation Talisman, because it does boost damage when near rot. She has a few new attacks in phase 2, like the one where she slams down and causes a delayed explosion that also builds up a little bit of rot. But she's still weak to bleed, she's still weak to frostbite and fire, so take advantage of those while you can. There are some moves that you won't see here, like when she jumps up and summons 4 shades of herself to attack you and then follows up with an attack of her own. But all in all, this boss fight is about practice, 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 and using what you have to your advantage, to your advantage. I mean, there's really no other way around it. Bleed is your best friend, and Liurnia is your worst nightmare, so I'm just going to let the rest of this fight play out, and then let you celebrate a hard-fought victory. Take her out to earn the achievement titled Shardbearer Liurnia, and you are finally done with the nightmare that is Miquella's twin sister. With Liurnia finally down, we are officially done with everything in Elden Ring that we need to do for all the achievements up to the end game and fighting the fire giant. So now head back to the Foot of the Forge site of grace, and we're going to take on the fire giant. The fire giant has a whopping 43,000 health, the most health out of any boss or enemy in the entire game. There are 2 phases, and he's weak to standard damage as well as magic and lightning. You will start all the way across the arena from the fire giant with plenty of time, so go ahead and summon your ashes, buff up, do whatever you need to do. He will usually start phase 1 by doing this ground sweep attack, which can get you from across the arena, and it's pretty hard to dodge, so as soon as you see it start happening, run to one side or the other, and then double jump on your horse to try and avoid it. He can also close the distance on you pretty quickly if you try and stay away from him with his ground slam attack, so just know that he doesn't really like to stay far enough away from you. The rest of phase 1 is all about melee attacks, so stay under his feet if you can, which is where you want to be anyway because his left foot, once you break the brace, is going to be his weak point. Once you do break that brace and he has that weak point, he is going to roll away from you, and he is going to add fire-based attacks to his repertoire. He'll do this little move where he spits fire into his hand from his stomach-mouth thing, and that's when phase 1.5 will start. He can now summon fireballs like a Dawn League Thief of Fire did back in Liurnia of the Lakes, and he can also do this ground slam attack where pillars of fire come up around him, and they can kill you pretty quickly. And he can also shoot very fast moving fireballs at you, so watch out for those two. At half health, he's going to totally change form, and he's going to enter phase 2. It'll be a totally different fight from here on out, so... I only fought phase 2 once or twice, and my entire experience was very scuffed, so I'm just going to leave the whole fight in for you to watch. Try and glean from it what you can. I know the video's bad. I know the playing's bad. I'm sorry. That's all I have, is I'm sorry. Take him out to earn the achievement titled Fire Giant and get out of this hell. I'm done. Done with it. Climb up to the Forge of the Giants and make your way around the left side to find the Site of Grace at the very end. Rest at it to talk to Melina, and you get the option to burn the Erdtree. You don't really have an option. It's story progression, so you have to do it, but do it anyway. Watch the cutscene that plays if you like. It's actually really pretty and beautifully made. I liked it a lot. She kills herself, essentially. When you wake up, you'll be in a new area called the Crumbling Farum Azula, and at some point during the cutscene or immediately after, you will get the achievement titled Erdtree of Flame. Fall down the opposite end of the bridge to continue on, and enter the door to officially enter the Crumbling Farum Azula. Head down the stairs and enter the Crumbling portion of building, where you can find a whole host of tough enemies that you can take on if you like. Or you can run right past them and enter the door on your left to find the first Site of Grace for this area. Head out into the open section where it's going to be a very long bridge from one side to the other, and there's pretty much nothing in this area. As you walk across, a dragon is going to come careening out of the sky, as they usually do, and if you can manage to take it down, you'll get plenty of runes, and you'll get another ancient dragon smithing stone. So this will be the second one that we could have collected up to this point. Head back into the crumbling building opposite of where you came out, and you will find your second Site of Grace for this area. The next room has a couple sleeping enemies and one patrolling enemy that you can just avoid, walk right through the door. And you can sprint right through the next room, past several enemies, to go outside and find your third Site of Grace for this area. Go over the rail and head down the hill to come to a parkour section of this area. This is one of a few that we will do. And you're just going to make your way from one crumbling piece of debris to another, all the way to the end, where you're going to find another Site of Grace in a larger section of building. Turn right as you enter the building, and then turn left to go down some stairs past an enemy, where you can jump over the railing through the door ahead of you to jump straight into the next boss fight. If you like, you can do it that way, or if you die to this boss, there is another way in. Turn right at the base of the stairs past the first enemy, where you will see a large curved staircase that goes straight down to the other entrance for this boss fight. We're now going to take on the Godskin Duo, which is both a Godskin Noble and a Godskin Apostle. The Godskin Duo, as they are called, have around 26,000 health, which is a bit of a misnomer because they each have a health bar, but their total health bar is about 26,000. There are 1 or 2 phases, depending on how you want to call it. and they are weak to slash damage as well as frostbite, bleed, and the sleep effect. This fight is 2 bosses at once, both a Godskin Noble and a Godskin Apostle, as I've already told you. You fought the Godskin Noble before, but the Apostle will be different, but not that crazy. When you take them down, you will get the achievement titled Godskin Duo and the Smithing Stone Manual's Bellbearing number 4. That will allow you to buy Smithing Stones 7 and 4 from the Twin Maiden Husks for 2,400 and 3,600 runes each, which will take your weapons to plus 21 and plus 24. And we can finally use those Ancient Dragon Smithing Stones we found to upgrade a normal weapon to plus 25. That will also grant us the achievement titled Godsling Armament, and you now have a weapon that is fully upgraded. You could have 2 at this point, if you're using standard weapons. From the Godskin Duo Side of Grace, we're going to head out the northern door. Turn right when you get outside and go down the stairs that are just on the other side of the broken door. Run to the door that is past the 2 really weird dog things, I don't really know what they are supposed to be, and jump through one of the windows when you get back outside through both of those doors. Drop down onto the lower platform, taking note of the weird dog thing on the far left that can throw things at you from a distance, and turn right into the large arches in the next building to continue on. Do a little parkour to reach the lower area where you can see the door with the torches, and run straight through to come to an area where you can see a Cathedral Knight in the distance. Run around the left edge of the arena if you want to fully avoid the Cathedral Knight, or you can try and fight it and take it down. And do a little more parkour to reach a lower rooftop that you can run up to find a Site of Grace and breathe a little sigh of relief. Drop down to an area that is full of eagles, lots and lots of birds, and there's also a dragon that is trying to attack you from a distance with its lightning-based attacks, so this area just kind of sucks. Make your way to where the dragon is, avoiding all the birds and lightning to the best of your ability, and immediately run along the right edge of this area to avoid the dragon and the birds and get to a little bit of safety. If you want to try and take on the dragon, I believe it drops a Ancient Dragon Smithing Stone, but I've never taken it down, so I can't be 100% sure. Either way, at the top of the hill, you're going to turn right and continue running to cross over an overturned gazebo that serves as a bridge over the gap. Enter the building ahead of you and go through the arches on the right side, past just a few more enemies to come to a room that has a little circle set of stairs up to an elevator, where that elevator will take you up to your final Site of Grace, and you will have survived another hell through all that running and birds and dragons and beasts. From this Site of Grace, you're going to head outside and up all the stairs to come to the Great Bridge, and instead of going up towards the boss fog, we're going to turn left and go down the bridge and enter that building. Outside of that building, you'll find a ladder that goes down, and it overlooks a little bridge of sorts. As you get to the end of this bridge, you're going to want to crouch down and get just before the entrance of that next area. Because if you didn't fight the War Master back in Limgrave, he's now going to spawn in this area and you're going to have to fight him. And if you enter the building before you fight him, then you're going to have to fight those beasts as well. This is a bit tougher because of the constraints of the area that we are in, and because he will stagger you with any hits that he does land on you. When you take him down, he's going to drop the Devourer's Scepter, which will be the last legendary weapon that you need if you didn't already collect it in Limgrave. And collecting that is going to net you the achievement titled Legendary Armaments. With that achievement in hand, you can now go into the building that we were outside of before, where you're going to open the chest. And inside will be the Old Lord's Legendary Talisman. We're going to go back to the beside the Great Bridge Site of Grace, and instead of going outside this time, we're going to go back down the elevator. Go outside of the building at the base of the elevator and run directly to the opposite side, where it looks like you're going to roll off of the cliff. If you look down, you will see plenty of stones for you to fall on, and basically what you're going to do is just falling parkour all the way down to the bottom. At the bottom, you'll see a bunch of graves that have things in them, and you'll see one that is empty. Go to the one that is empty and lay down in it. This is going to take you to the arena where we fight Dragon Lord Placidusax. That's just how I'm going to say his name. He has around 26,500 health. There are 2 phases, and he's weak to pierce type damage. You'll start across the arena from the dragon, and it won't activate or fight you until you get closer, so, heal, buff, summon, whatever you want to do before you get up to it. It always starts the fight by summoning these pools of lightning around it that are very easy to dodge. It's a delayed attack, so just make sure you're out of the pools before they explode. It has plenty of melee attacks that it can use its head, its tails, its claws, whatever it has to try and attack you from, a short distance. It has an attack that I'm hearing people call the nuclear option, where it slams its lightning sword, whatever you want to call it, into the ground and it explodes in a very wide range. This deals a lot of damage. It can throw dirt at you, which is weird. And it can shoot fire both behind itself and in front of itself if you are within range and trigger that attack. Lastly, it can be stunned, and its critical point is its head that ends up slamming onto the ground. Phase 2 starts at around 50% health, where the dragon is going to rise up into the air and vanish. It will reappear in a cloud of lightning where you can lock onto it prematurely. Once it attacks, it will teleport a random number of times and continue to melee attack you or your summon and end with a fire move. But luckily the lock-on stays in place, so you can't really lose the dragon per se. It can fly away and disappear again, and then reappear as another cloud of smoke and lightning, which you can lock onto prematurely yet again. From there, it will circle the arena for a bit and then lunge at you with a AoE type attack with its claws. It can summon lightning bolts down from the sky, and it can also turn its fire attack into this laser type attack, which has a much wider range and deals more damage than the fire attacks in Phase 1. So make sure you look out for those and keep your distance. Take it down to earn the achievement titled Dragon Lord Placidusax, sticking with the name. Now head back to the Beside the Great Bridge side of Grace one last time, and this time we're going to go up the bridge. There is a Draconic Tree Sentinel that you can fight if you want to along the bridge, or you can run right past it and go to the boss fog to fight the next major boss, which is called Malekith the Black Blade. Malekith has two distinct phases, so Phase 1 has around 4,750 health, and Phase 2 has around 6,000 health, and he's weak to all types of physical damage. Phase 1 starts out as a Beast Clergyman. He is much easier than Phase 2, and he can do some melee combos just like every other boss can. He can slam his claws into the ground and throw waves at you that kind of travel through the ground. And there's an alternate version of that attack that attacks in a wider range, pretty much like a circle. He can slam his fist into the ground and pick up a chunk of the earth and throw it at you. And he can swipe his hand across the ground and throw spikes at you. After you get into just over half health, like that 4,750 that I said earlier, he's going to turn into Malekith the Black Blade, and it's going to get much tougher. Malekith the Black Blade is much faster than the Beast Clergyman and has several attacks that can have the draining effect of like the Black Blades that you fought up to this point. I believe every time he hits you, he inflicts the life drain effect. It doesn't go back towards him, but it does drain the life from you, and it lowers your actual total health for a few seconds. He can also throw a wave of that lifesteal effect towards you from quite a distance, just like the Black Blades can, and that's probably the hardest one to dodge, because it's just so fast. Something that I learned after playing the game is that if you have the Blasphemous Claw, which you get from defeating Bernal as an invader, where you get the Devourer's Scepter, when he does the attack where he throws the waves at you, you can use that to stun him briefly. You can use it up to 3 times in each fight. I'll let you enjoy the rest of the fight. It's not much longer. This took me a very long time because of how fast he was, and I don't think I was really ready for that kind of speed, but just enjoy it. Take him down to earn the achievement titled Malekith the Black Blade, and a cutscene will start automatically that is going to take you to the very last section of the entire game that we need to finish. You will automatically spawn into Leyndell the Ashen capital, which is an alternate version of Leyndell covered in ash. Very original. Totally on the nose. We're going to travel to the Forbidden Land side of Grace to travel back into the city from a different viewpoint and collect the last talisman that we need. You're going to take the elevator back up from the Forbidden Lands and cross the bridge with the guy on a horse and a couple enemies on the other side to take an elevator back down. You're going to come out to a balcony that is going to be overlooking a very large field of ash with a couple like broken trees in the middle, and you should be able to see the last talisman from when you come out. Go down the steps to enter that field of ash and hug the left wall all the way around the arena until you can go straight forward to get onto the branch to collect that talisman. There are a couple of the giant snake things, I can't remember what they're called right now, but they will gang up on you and they will take you out if you try and just run across the arena. Head up the branch to collect the Erdtree Favor +2, and that is the last legendary talisman that we need to collect. And that is going to net us the achievement simply titled Legendary Talisman. And that is all the legendary equipment for us to collect in the game, so congratulations. Back at the Ashen Capital side of Grace, we are now going to head due west, where we're going to head up the stairs near where we found the Bolt of Grand Sax the first time we came through Leyndell. Take the elevator up to re-enter the arena where we fought Godfrey the First Elden Lord at the very top of those very, very long routes, but from the other side this time. This time in the arena, you're going to fight a boss named Sir Gideon Ofnir the All-Knowing. He's basically a boss that has all of the major attacks of every other boss like the Aeonian Flower, the Red as Great Bow, all the major magic attacks, he can use those, including this attack where he builds up holy damage and kills you instantly. So watch out for that one. Take down Gideon for his equipment, and now we're going to make our way to the arena where we fought Morgott just before we were denied access to the Erdtree. At the top of the stairs, you're going to enter the arena to fight the next boss named Hoarelu Warrior. Hoarelu, which is actually the father of Nephelilu that we used earlier as an NPC, has around 22,000 health. There are 2 distinct phases, and he's weak to slash type damage. In phase 1, you face off against the real version of Godfrey the First Elden Lord, which is different from the one that you fought as a ghost. His stomp attack is upgraded to a much larger version this time, and he has a different stomp attack that has a longer windup that can either be rolled through or jumped over. After that stomp attack, he's going to be buffed to where he's going to do more damage with each hit. At half health, he's going to transform into Hoarelu, who is much faster and stronger, and killed me in pretty much one hit every time he did anything, so this is much more difficult. He can scream, which knocks the player back, and he'll follow it up with a combo where he can be damaged, but this combo ends with an eruption like his stomp, and it can hurt you a lot. He can do the stomp shockwave just like in phase 1, but instead of it being just a singular one this time, he follows it up with a quicker second one. Take him out to earn the achievement titled Hoarelu, and now time for the final boss of the game. Climb the stairs out the back of the arena and go through the previously barred door to a wall of light. Interact with it, and it's going to take you directly to the final boss of the game, so be prepared. Radagon of the Golden Order is the first phase of the final boss. He has 13,500 health, and he has no weaknesses. You have plenty of time to summon when you enter the arena, but be careful using magic if he's focused solely on you, because he can catch it and redirect it at you, and it has a delayed explosion that deals a lot of damage. Similar to the redirected magic for the first attack, he can redirect it again to do a grapple attack that he is invincible during that attack. He can throw plenty of holy-based arrows or projectiles at you that explode after a delay. And at 75% health, he will jump high into the air and enter a pseudo phase 2 by slamming his hammer onto the ground. In this phase, he can teleport, which has an AoE explosion. He is much more aggressive, and he moves a lot faster. Lastly, he can do a pretty devastating hammer slam attack, which comes in 3 attacks. The best way to dodge these is to roll towards him just after his hammer hits the ground, otherwise he will very likely take you out. Once his health bar reaches 0, I would take this time to buff up, heal, do whatever you need to do, because you're automatically going to be taken into phase 2 after a few seconds. The Elden Beast has around 22,000 health. It is the second phase of this 2-phase fight, and it is weak to all physical types of damage. It also has a weak point that takes more damage, and that is its stomach, which kind of looks like crack. In my experience, it usually starts the fight out by throwing down some fire, which you can avoid by running towards it. Running away from it is a little bit harder to dodge that way. It can grab the player and release a flurry of projectile attacks, and I think you can actually spam button your way out of this attack to take less damage. It can summon a cloud similar to Estelle that explodes after a delay in a very large radius. And it can summon those clouds in an arc in front of it and in a direct line towards the player, very similar to Estelle. It can throw waves of holy damage at the player, and it will throw 4 at a time. And it can send out a wave of holy damage in the shape of a rune arc on the ground. It can slam the sword into the ground and cause a very large explosion after a short delay. And lastly, for the sword, it can swim away, jump up into the air, and then slash down on top of the player, sending a wave out in the opposite direction. It can use the Elden Star's incantation, which will chase down the player relentlessly, dealing a lot of damage. It's pretty much impossible to avoid. All that you can do is try and roll back and forth to not take as much damage. It can shoot a ton of spikes into the air, which are pretty easy to dodge. You can just run in one direction, or you can try and roll back and forth to avoid them. And you can jump into the air and shoot similar spikes, but these move much slower and are even easier to dodge than the last ones. Lastly, it can jump high into the air and call out a ring which forms around the player. The easiest way to avoid it is to jump over it and then sprint out of the circle before it explodes. You can roll out of it, but it's harder to dodge that way. I chose to jump as much as I could. There is another version of this that is 3 rings deep instead of 1. It's a little bit harder to dodge because you need to manage your stamina through each of those jumps, and still make it out of the ring before it explodes. And just for a frame of reference, for some context, the Elden Beast has absolutely no chill. This clip is of it just absolutely trying to do everything in its power to ruin me, to make me have a bad time. It gets really bad sometimes if you're not focused on damaging the Elden Beast and getting this fight over with. When you finally manage to take down Radagon and the Elden Beast, you will be awarded no achievements, so deal with it, but you will have defeated the last boss of the game, so congratulations. You will be automatically taken back to the arena where you fought Radagon, where you have two options in front of you, but first off, let's grab the Site of Grace because we will need it to come back here soon. Now what we're going to do is consider it a glitch, but it'll help you get all the achievements in one go, so quit all the way out of the game and go back to your home Xbox screen. You're going to open up the options for Elden Ring and you're going to choose the option that says Manage Games and Add-ons. Then you're going to go down and click on the Save Data icon and it's going to bring up all the save data you have for this game. Go ahead and click on your own name. It's going to bring up all the save data that you have for this game. And choose the option to delete from this console. Do not delete everywhere because that will get rid of all of your Elden Ring save data and you have to start all the way over again. Just choose to delete from this console only. If you go back to your screen where it says your name and it still says that you have data, then you can just choose to delete from console again and it should work. Now when you load back into the game, it's going to say syncing data for Elden Ring and this is what you want to see. This is good. The reason I went over that sequence is because what you're going to do now is choose one of the options before you. You're going to watch the cutscene and as soon as it ends you should get the achievement. As soon as you see the achievement pop, you're going to go through those steps to delete the save data and then reload the game and it'll take you back to the stone platform. If you did everything right, you will spawn back into the stone platform having not made a decision and that will allow you to choose the other option, the other ending, whether it be the Age of Stars or the Elden Lord, and then repeat that process one more time and we'll get the final achievement for this game. Go to the Prescription Flame Site of Grace that you found after you defeated Mohg and did the parkour section in the Subterranean Shunning-Grounds. And this time, instead of leaving the door alone, we're going to take all of our clothes off and interact with it. This is going to cause a cutscene to happen where we're going to be branded by the three fingers, and this will lock us out of the other two endings, so that's why we did those other two endings before we came here and did this sequence of events. This time at the stone platform, interact with the statue. It's the only thing you can do. You will get the final cutscene for the game, and you will get the last two achievements that you need. This is going to net you the Lord of Frenzied Flame achievement and the Elden Ring achievement, which is for getting every other achievement in the game. Oh my god, it's done. I can't believe it. I've been working on this for when did Elden Ring come out? Oh god, I don't even know. February 25th, that's when it came out this year. So it's been just over 3 months. It is March 25th right now. It is finally done. The mega guide, Jesus Christ, hundreds of hours worth of work. I don't even want to know how much time I spent on this project, but I did it all for you guys. This is fun. I enjoy it, but it's ultimately for everyone else to use so that they don't have to I put 73 hours into getting all the achievements, and then I put a couple hundred more into making this video. So it's just crazy. If you like this video, please give it a like, give it a subscribe. If you didn't like it, dislike it and tell me why. I can take criticism. I'm almost at 200 subscriptions. Let's get it there. Let's blow it out the water. Let's just have a good time. Let's just game. Oh, and one more thing. As somebody put in my comments recently, and I think I want to make my my slogan. I'm gonna try it out right here. May the sun shine on. That'll be it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.